It is 6 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer after rallying from a 10-point deficit against the San Francisco 49ers. And with the game tied at 17, Tennessee Titans kicker Randy Bullock had the chance to give Titans fans a very Merry Christmas.
From the right hash, Morgan Cox, the four-time Pro Bowler to snap it. Brett Kern to hold it. Randy Bullock to attempt. Snap, set, kick. Good!
That was the Vaught, courtesy of Titans Radio. Bullock's 44-yarder with 9 seconds left gave the Titans a 20-17 win on Thursday Night Football at Nissan Stadium. Wide receiver A.J. Brown, Arthur won his first game back from injured reserve, 11 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown. Meanwhile, the Titans defense intercepted Jimmy Garoppolo twice and caused a turnover on downs that allowed the Titans to hang on till the offense got into gear. Christmas Day doubleheader on the Zone. Cleveland at Green Bay tomorrow, 3:30 kickoff. Indianapolis at Arizona at 7:15. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What a game! What an atmosphere! And what a lovely Christmas it will be! If you love the two-tone blue. The Titans, for the 6th time in the last 2 years, trail at halftime and yet come back to win. Final score, Tennessee 20, San Francisco 17. As the Titans get it done again.
I don't want to tell you I told you so, but I told you so. You can just book it. Games you have no business winning, games you have no business losing. This team does it. It does it every single year. I'm not surprised at all last night just because of that fact. Everybody was talking about the Niners, right? They were streaking. Jimmy Garoppolo's playing great football. Who was going to handle anybody, considering the offensive line woes? AJ's coming back, but what's it going to mean? Is Julio going to finish the game? It didn't matter. Mike Vrabel gets his guys ready to play in these games all the time. All the time. Especially in prime time. Bills, Monday Night Football, win. Sunday Night Football, Rams, win. Thursday Night Football last night against the Niners at home in a game that you absolutely had to have. Win. With Randy Bullock, as you just heard off of Titans Radio. That's how we welcome you in on this Christmas Eve. It is JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Ramon is not here, unfortunately. Omicron's real, folks. Hopefully he's going to be fine. He was, as far as we know, but somebody close by was not. So we're taking extra precautions today. So you see the cutout today is JMart and Schaefer. But Schaefer will be talking a lot more today. I'm saying that to him on the air so that he will know that he's co-hosting this show. He's just maybe not as many drops today, Schaefer, but plenty of voice. Mike Keith will be here. Yeah, that's right. Mike Keith will be here. Jeff Schwartz. I called him in off the bench last night. And he was like, oh, glad to do it. Now, he may have to dodge his wife throwing out their Christmas tree this morning because she does that before Christmas every year.
Savage.
He's going to film it, he said, and put it out on Twitter. So those two guys. And, of course, it is a Reaction Friday. It's Christmas Eve, but before you go out and start trying to make the last-second shopping.
No. It's not Reaction Friday. It's Victory Friday.
Absolutely is. It absolutely is, Titans fans. And let me go ahead and tell you this right now. I'm going to go ahead and spoil this. I picked them to win last night. I'm picking them to sweep the rest of the season. That's how important that game was. They're going to beat Miami. They're going to beat Houston. They're going to finish 12-5. I think they're going to have a shot at the 1 seed, depending on what happens above them.
If they sweep the remainder of the season, they have an outstanding chance at the top seed.
Absolutely. So you tell me, Schaefer, how long have we been watching Mike Vrabel teams This was a Mike Vrabel special, if ever there was one. And speaking of special, A.J. Brown is a special human being. It came back last. Him and Deebo Samuel just going tit for tat. Basically, the difference was one dude had Ryan Tannehill not throwing it to the other team, while Jimmy Garoppolo was exactly what I've always thought he was, which is the very definition of a guy. If I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm just like, got to get rid of that guy.
Well, and that's why they drafted Trey Lance. There's no question about that. So in the past 2 weeks, we've been kind of dialed in with this Titans team in terms of we thought they'd split those 2 games, 1-1. Got them backwards for me. I thought they'd win Pittsburgh and drop the San Francisco game. But we said going into Pittsburgh, that's a tough place to play and you never know. And they dropped that game. And then last night, soon as you saw the number come out as the Titans being the underdog to the 49ers, the 49ers, the road favorite, we went, okay, 49ers are the favorite. I picked them. You picked them. I've got no problem saying that I picked them. And for much of the first quarter, much of the first half, it looked like a pretty good pick. But then the Titans do what they always do. And they have Super Bowl quality intangibles on this team. There is absolutely no question about it. And the Titans went out and did what the Titans do. Play as the underdog, find a way to win.
Yep. And I think you nailed it. I mean, this team, they do this a lot. They do it in prime time an awful lot. And I'll tell you, I think if Jackrabbit doesn't pick that pass off in the end zone, they get blown out last night.
Well, the group chat with myself, you, and Ramon, we were all saying if this goes up 14-0, this has a chance to go south really quickly.
I just think that was going to be a backbreaker. That play is as big a play as I've seen from this team all season long in the non-game winning situation. Now, if you have like a bullet kick or
the Josh Allen stop against Buffalo.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are bigger moments.
The Carson Wentz interception, that Bud made the play on that one. They've had some big-time moments.
The Russell Wilson safety that should have been.
That's right.
Like there have been some moments. But in a spot early in a game, there has not been a bigger play made by this franchise in years than Jackrabbit made in the end zone, and then Garoppolo threw it right to him. Kittle had no chance. Kittle made the right move, and Garoppolo threw it where only the other guy could get it. So they took advantage of Garoppolo being bad Garoppolo. The Jekyll Hyde situation for the 49ers. I saw Robert Mays say this last night about the Niners. He said, I love the Colts. I love the Niners. I love their scheme. I love their coaching. I love so much about their offense. But their quarterbacks just want to throw the ball to the other team in the most mind-numbing way possible. And they really are. They're the Spider-Man meme. The 49ers, in a lot of ways, are the Colts of the NFC, but their running game's not as potent because they don't have a Jonathan Taylor type. They do rely a little bit more on Garoppolo, it seems like. That's why they're throwing Deebo in the backfield, because then at least somebody else can have the ball so Garoppolo can't screw it up.
That's the first game that I've had the chance to watch an entire game of Deebo Samuel. As Coach Mack would say, he's a dude.
Oh, he's awesome. He is absolutely awesome. But if that thing's 14-0, I mean, that thing easily could have been 21-24 to 3, 24-0. And I mean, they were dominating that first half. And when they came out with 10 at the half, I said, well, Vrabel's got him exactly where he wants him now. Because if they can just come out in the first drive where you knew they were going to have the football, put up points, all bets are off, because the defense was kind of increasingly getting better as the game went along. Early, that first drive, they got chewed up and spit out. And then I sent the text to you guys, and I said, I hadn't really thought about this, but think about the offenses that this defense has seen over the last 6 weeks. A rookie quarterback offense in New England, the Texans, Urban's last stand, the Saints with Trevor Siemian and no Alvin Kamara. Since the Rams game, they've pretty much played nobody threatening offensively. All due respect to the Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger. He's not a Hall of Famer by how he's playing in 2021.
No, the Steelers' offense is bad.
They couldn't move the ball. And I'm not saying that the defensive stats were fake. I'm saying they kind of hadn't been tested in the way that you were going to be tested by guys like Deebo, Ayuk, Kittle, even Jeff Wilson early in that game. But the good news for you is you had Garoppolo, so you've seen that guy before. You've seen that quarterback before. And you baited him into some bad decisions. You did just enough when you had to, and the defense held them in the game long enough for the offense to wake up and A.J. Brown to take over the game in the second half. I mean, he had 145 yards, folks, coming off of IR. He was the guy they were talking to after the game with the giant smile on NFL Network being interviewed. It was good to see him back, and you can see immediately what stars mean. You have to have dudes. You have to have guys. We know you don't have Derrick Henry, but A.J. Brown was the other one, right? Like Julio, A.J., Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill. That was your quartet coming into the season. That's what everybody wanted to see. The four horsemen of the apocalypse, whole nine. Well, you really barely have gotten to see all four of them. But the two that you knew were most important in terms of outside the quarterback, Julio really wasn't. It was A.J. number 2 to Derrick Henry. So you get that guy back, and all of a sudden, you talk about not being battle-tested. Well, Ryan Tannehill has been battle-tested over the last 5 to 6 weeks with who he's throwing to, who's been absent. AJ, I mean, that's the biggest smiles I've seen from Ryan Tannehill in a while. Just playing football last night, because all of a sudden you look down the field and 11 was breaking open, and the one thing that you knew San Francisco could be exploited doing was throwing the ball. Their corners, not great. And you saw it last night because AJ bullied them, and the officials were, I think they could have called a couple of penalties on Tennessee. They didn't. I think they could have called a couple of penalties on San Francisco that they didn't. And a few of the things they did call, I didn't like either. But right now, look at Tennessee. If AJ can be healthy, let's say Derrick Henry is coming back in the playoffs. That's a Super Bowl contender right there if they're healthy. There's no doubt about it, and that's why I picked them before the season, because their final form, their Super Saiyan form, that's a Super Bowl team.
Well, and Mike Vrabel said at his press conference last night saying, we're not dead yet. People had scheduled our funeral. You see where we're at now. I get it, Mike. I understand the energy. You're playing to the base real well with that. I understand everything you're saying with that type of energy. You're able to play the us versus the world card. They were able to do it last night. We've never doubted that this team, when healthy, is a Super Bowl contending team. In fact, I know someone on this show that said this.
I've been fighting saying this out loud now for about a week.
Do it, Jay.
I'm picking the Titans to win the Super Bowl.
So we've had that all season with your prediction. They can do it, especially in a league this year that is as wide open, Jason, as I ever remember it being. If you're the Titans, get into the dance. Colts are taking on the Cardinals in a game that you can hear on the Zone coming up tomorrow night. I'm going to have my butt right in the couch watching that
By
game.
the way, after the game, you can hear me because I'll be on Fox tomorrow with Aaron Torres. Even though it's Christmas night, sports don't stop on Christmas. They're actually
there's no sports today because of anomalies in schedules.
Exactly right.
But we'll have an NFL doubleheader here
Yeah.
on the Zone. If the Colts lose, Titans AFC South, and again, if they go and win those next two games, they have a very realistic shot at that number 1 seed. It is amazing what happens in just the span of 4 or 5 days.
So an early Christmas present. I think you unwrapped Jimmy Garoppolo being a quarterback of the team you were playing against, and that's exactly what you needed because he made just enough decisions that you know a good defense could exploit. And that's not at all to take anything away from the Titans defense. The Titans defense made him look terrible for about 3.5 quarters last night. And that's one of the big reasons that you won. And as maligned as Jackrabbit has been, deservedly so, because when you do things wrong, you should get talked about. And when you do things right, you should get talked about. Again, you can disagree with me, but I think that was the biggest play maybe of the season for the Titans, was not allowing 14-0 and taking advantage of a bad Jimmy Garoppolo throw, stepping in front of Kittle, making that play, making sure he couldn't knock the ball out of your hands, getting the interception, and saving points early in a game when it looked like it could get away from you. It is a reaction victory Friday on this Christmas Eve. 615-737-1045. 737-1045. Give us a call. Tell us how you're feeling. A little bit of a later night, but Mike Keith's going to come in. We're here. Mona, unfortunately, hopefully he's good. Hopefully the tests continue to come back negative for him. But we're going to take every precaution, and here's what I'm saying. I just hope everybody in his family and everybody stays negative outside of the one positive, and it's not going to affect their Christmas because nobody wants to see that. I just hate he's not here, so I can't give him a gift. Our gifts we're doing on air because they need to be seen by Zone TV, at least a couple of them. There's one that you'll get after the show, Shafe, but These,
I'm getting multiple gifts?
yeah, you're actually getting 3.
Man, I should be nicer to you.
No, you got to see these first, though.
Oh,
We're gonna do it. We'll do it on the Zone chat. We'll do it after the break. Again, Victory Monday, Victory Friday. Sorry, 615-737-1045 on this Christmas Eve. It is JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
Garoppolo takes the snap, looking, firing, and it's intercepted! Intercepted by Jackrabbit Jenkins. Jackrabbit, his first pick is a Titan.
That way, something about Coach Mack just in the background. Jackrabbit! I love Coach Mack.
Jackrabbit!
Coach Mack literally knows everybody.
Everybody.
Yesterday, I'm at Carlott's all day. Made a decision, by the way. We're done.
Oh.
We're done.
Okay.
But I'm sitting down with one guy at one of the dealerships before test driving a car. And the guy's like, "What do you do?" And I told him what I did. Yeah, he was a sports fan, but he actually wasn't a radio listener. And then he was like, "Hey, there might be somebody that you know. I used to live in Chicago, and one of my good friends up there knew this guy. I think he's Dave McGinnis. Dude starts talking to me about Coach Mack. He goes, "Have you ever met him?" I'm like, "Yeah, I interviewed him literally 4 hours ago." Like, I don't know how we're having this conversation. Literally 4 hours ago, man.
Yes!
But Jackrabbit Jenkins, and I kind of want that drop just for out of context reasons, just Jackrabbit randomly. That's the biggest play this team has seen all year outside of a game-winning situation or like a stop. Like that right there, if they go up 14-0, I don't think we're having the same kind of conversation we are today. Matter of fact, I think that thing might get out of hand. That was a huge momentum play just to quell momentum, even though they didn't score until the third quarter. That, to me, was a game-saving, maybe even division championship-saving play.
Jackrabbit!
And now I think you're going 12-5. Not because of just that play, but because you won that game last night. 615-737-1045, JMart and Ramon. Big guy is out today. He was going to be here, but Omicron's real, and so we're taking some extra precautions today and just going to go ahead and give him the early holiday. So Merry Christmas to him and his family. Unfortunately, that means that I can't give gifts to both Shafe and Ramon at the same time. Is there a way to do this, Shafe, where you can do this, but the camera can see what you open? That's what we need to figure out, because I want to do it but I think the Zone Chat needs to see it. 615-737-1045 is the telephone number. It is a Victory Friday, a Reaction Friday, and Christmas Eve. Now you can sit back and watch the Colts with aplomb tomorrow night and just pray that they lose because of principle alone. I did hear, I'm trying to think who it was that I heard say this. It was Jeremy Fowler. I heard Jeremy Fowler say this last night. If Derrick Henry had not gotten hurt, considering the way this season is played, he would have won the MVP this year. I know it sounds awful to say that. But if Jonathan Taylor wins this thing, and I'm starting to increasingly think he's got a real shot at it. Now, if Aaron Rodgers continues and they don't have a drop-off, he's going to win it. But Jonathan Taylor's going to be second.
Well, he can win the MVP tomorrow. Because it's going to be on that national TV. It's going to be on that
both of them are playing
spotlight.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's going to be real tough to swallow for Titans fans. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow. Just know that most people recognize that if Derrick Henry had been playing, he'd be the ones being talked about right now. But luckily, the Titans are still being talked about because they're still relevant, because they're 10-5. They're about to win the division, go to the playoffs, and maybe the King is going to come back and show who he is the way A.J. Brown showed who he was last night. To the phones on this Victory Friday. Eric in Nashville's up first. What's going on, Eric? Happy Christmas Eve.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Now, that's Jeff Schwartz, Eric. He'll be on next hour.
Yeah. I just have to do that, guys. I'm in the Christmas mood. Merry Christmas. Thank you. A big shout out to Cousin Mike in Cleveland, Isaiah, and to Dr. Detroit, to you guys. Everybody have a fantastic Christmas. First of all, let me just say this about the game last night. What a win. It was certainly, again, the way it was starting out, you didn't think it was going to happen. And just like the national media, I'm not knocking them or whatever. Most everybody picked the 49ers to win the game. And I was telling people before the game, it wouldn't surprise me if they lost. But this type of game, when everybody's guessing for the way they're playing right now, they come up with a victory, and certainly did last night. Man, props to the Titans. First half, just real sluggish, didn't do anything. In fact, I think at one point we had more penalty yardage than we did yardage.
Yeah.
But certainly Jackrabbit Jenkins, I've made fun of him, called him Bugs Bunny. He wasn't Bugs last night. He was Super Rabbit last night with the way he played. It just And certainly that was a big point in the game because it could have been 21-0, like you said, or 24-3, 24-0 first half. But we certainly stayed in the game. And then the second half, I'm just telling you what, props to A.J. Brown with the way he played last night. Certainly with him in the offense, tell him how much we missed that offense, the way he stepped up, and especially Tannehill, the way he played. I mean, I've been on him a little bit, and I know a lot of people have, but he stepped up. And he made key plays we needed to, especially that run to set up the field goal guys. And I tell you, another big play was at 3rd and 23, guys, where A.J. Brown catches that pass. In fact, I thought it looked like the defender had his hand on his face mask last night, but they didn't call it. You could have called a penalty on that. And I tell you what, I think ESPN showed a stat last night where A.J. Brown had 8 receptions on 3rd down. And I think that was the first time a stat like that since like 1978 in the Mon area where a wide receiver caught that many passes on 3rd down. Especially a lot of those were 3rd and long, where usually we don't come up with that because we have so much yardage on 1st down. Also, thank you, Garoppolo, for the gifts that you gave us last night. You made a Merry Christmas for us Titans fans. Tighten up. Just way to go, Titans, especially the defense, the way they played on Kittle last night was not a factor because I was scared about him. Only had 2 receptions last night. Mm-hmm. They did excellent coverage on him. The defense, this game just left me breathless and speechless, guys. And just what a victory, the way this team played with the energy, the up-tempo, especially on that first touchdown drive that we got to tie the game. I think that, too, was a momentum after that second pick by Monty Hooker. Go Titans. Y'all take care. I'm going to get off and let you get to some other calls.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas to Eric. Yeah. I mean, he's not wrong. I also thinking somebody just mentioned this in the zone chat where you can go hang out with us on YouTube this morning. Jonathan Heath, you're right. Tannehill scramble run late was also big time. That was a big time play.
Huge.
Absolutely huge.
That play was perhaps just as big as the Jackrabbit play.
Yeah. And had it gone the other way, Deebo Samuel's 56-yard play would be what we were talking about, but it didn't go that way because the Titans managed it properly. I thought Vrabel was good last night. We're going to need to talk about Todd Downing, though. We're going to need to have a conversation about that. You want a ridiculous stat that was true going into the second half? The Titans ran 7 first down plays in the first half last night for 1 total yard. 1. I'm not a math major. I don't think that's good.
Nice.
Kenny the mailman.
Yes, sir.
How about them apples? Kenny, what's going on, brother?
Fellas, how are y'all doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I am so tired, but you know what? Just hearing the word Jackrabbit even perked me up from Coach. So keep playing that. I got one more day to hang on. 2 things I'd like to say for you right quick is, one, if y'all could verbally say the name of all the offensive linemen that played for the Titans last night, because I was so scared going into the game. It was facing the team they were facing. It was going to be an 8-sack night, and yeah, it was ugly at times, and it wasn't the prettiest things. But you have to remember, every completed pass starts with some of those guys blocking. So, and there were guys in there that I had no idea who they were. So if you'd do that for me.
Sure.
And number 2, everybody in Nashville, I have a gift for you. Sometime this weekend with your family on YouTube, type in Tim Shaw. My identity is just 5 minutes long, and it's a message from Tim on to be grateful and thankful for what you have, and especially for Titan fans. So remember, Tim Shaw, My Identity on YouTube. You'll thank me for it. Hey, y'all have a great day, and all my best to you.
Appreciate it, Kenny. Yeah, I have not seen that, but I can bet you're right. 615-737-1045. Victory Friday here on this Christmas Eve. A good many of you hanging out in the chat with us this morning.
Well, let's go through those.
That.
Let's go through those offensive
Yes, let's do it. Dylan Radin's left tackle. First off, look, that's a second-round pick playing the most important spot on your offensive line. He committed penalties, which, dude, he's a rookie going against a fierce pass rush. I honestly thought he held up respectively well.
Did good enough.
Way better than anybody should have thought he was going to be in that spot. So, was it great? By no means. But was it passable? Based on what I was expecting, yes.
We also saw him get some help from Jeremy McNichols in there. Also saw him get some help from the tight end in there as well.
There were times where it looked like 7 guys were there.
Yeah.
They were trying to get, but they had to. I mean, the way Bosa lines up, if you've never watched this, where he's got his hand behind him in the air, that would frighten me to death if I was an offensive lineman on the other side. And he thought he was going to be able to candy bar him all day. And it didn't go that way. Now, he definitely got his. Bosa still looked great last night. But he wasn't quite as much of a factor. And I think that might be the story of the game. Everybody you thought was kind of going to be a factor, outside of Samuel. As Eric said, you did a nice job on Kittle. He probably should have caught a touchdown, but Garoppolo threw it poorly, and Jack Rabbit stepped right in front and made a great play. Ayuk did some good things, no question. But it was really, it was Deebo Samuel was the offense. And Jeff Wilson did fairly well. I would have maybe handed him the ball a little bit more often, honestly. They love a toss play in San Francisco, too. Like 4 or 5 times, just toss it 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. They still got positive yards, but it's like, man, toss plays always scare you to death. But Radens, Aaron Brewer, who, I thought Radens looked better than Brewer.
I would agree with that.
Ben Jones was in there. Because, of course, he was. He found a way.
Reliable.
Dude is so unhealthy all the time. And he's in there all the time. I don't mean he's eating badly. I mean injured. Now I'm blanking. Who else do we have out there?
You have Nate Davis.
And Quessenberry.
And then Quessenberry.
And Quessenberry, he got abused a couple times.
Yeah, Bosa got after him.
But again, Bosa gets after all pros.
But again, they were good enough. Ryan held on to the ball too long a couple of times.
One of those sacks is totally on him.
Well, the very first sack, it was completely on Ryan. And that's going to happen. Garoppolo held on to the ball too long a couple of times as well.
Yeah, no, he did.
The offensive line was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
What has impressed me, and they continue to impress me, is especially the front 7 of that Titans defense. They're legit.
Oh, yeah. Jeff should have been a Pro Bowler. We talked about it yesterday. You want to talk about all the snubs? I can understand Landry not getting there just because of the names on the linebacker spot, and a lot of it is a popularity contest, unfortunately. But Big Jeff over DeForest Buckner this year, yes. But Jeff went out there and played like he wanted you to see that. Autry was a beast last night. Naquan Jones he's taking advantage of playing next to good players, but I honestly think that's going to make him a good player. Because he's seeing it done in a way that's only going to make him better as long as he wants to come along for the ride and sit underneath the learning tree. And I get the sense that's probably the kind of guy he is. Bud Dupree played his best game as a Titan last night.
No question. Most consistent performance.
He was active. He was wreaking havoc. He was forcing Garoppolo into spots on the field he didn't want to be. He looked good last night. Landry is Landry. At this point, you just kind of... I'll tell you though, if Rashaan Evans had the INT, couldn't hold on to it, that's just kind of like that's kind of been his Titans career. It's like so close yet so far.
Well, and Zach Cunningham, a nice performance.
Yes.
So we all realized, Zach just wanted to get the heck out of Houston.
Yeah. And dude, if he's gonna play like that, then you pay him and you keep him here. You find a way to make that work. And Byard obviously is Byard. And Christian Fulton, who he got beat a couple of times, so Christian Fulton's, you've got a defense. Shane Bowen has done a nice job with the guys he's had, but you've got a defense. There are a couple pieces that you probably need to exchange out, but that's going to be true in virtually every spot in the NFL. But you've got a defense. And as we've said, when the weapons are there, Tannehill can win you games with those weapons. I don't know how many quarterbacks could have succeeded in the straits that he found himself in over the last few months. That said, getting the ball out of his hands faster. And I'm going to do something else here, which I did early in the chat last night with us. Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olsen are phenomenal.
Fantastic.
Greg Olsen is going to be a rock star. He's so easy to listen to. He's so likable. And for once, you have somebody in the booth that's not a quarterback that can speak to the wide receiver position and the tight end position and explain blocking and explain. There's something about their synergy is good. The energy is good. They're not playing favorites.
I'll also add to this. unlike Tony Romo, Greg's not overplaying or overhyping anything.
Right. He just breaks it down. I loved when I saw they were calling the game. I didn't even know it until I saw them pop on television. I said, oh, this is going to be a good broadcast.
It was one of the few times on Titans Twitter this season where somebody hasn't griped about the TV crew.
And this is his first year. He came out of the booth to go back on the field.
He's really good.
He is
what Monday Night Football wanted Jason Witten to be.
I'm a big-time fan of Joe Buck. Troy, sometimes you can take it or leave it. But Burkhardt and Olsen are the easiest. Listen, this side of our guy Ian Eagle and Charles Davis. I think they're Fox's best team, and I do love Joe. But Greg Olsen's a star. And that was a really, really easy watch. And I felt like everybody was treated fairly, and it felt like Olsen knew what was going on with the Titans, was able to speak to it intelligently, and reflect it fairly. And that makes for a lot, man. 615-737-1045. 737-1045. It is a Victory Friday on this Christmas Eve. More of your phone calls after the break. We'll lead off with Steven and Adam, both of them in Lebanon. Are they in the same house? Are they in the same hotel? Are they in the same business right now? Actually, probably not, because I don't know what business is open yet. We are here for business, and the Titans got down to business. We got to figure out. We got to get Schaefer in front of a camera to showcase the gifts on the Zone chat. And one of them, you and Ramon got the same thing. So he's going to see his gift via chat. I told him, I was like, I guess I'm going to have to send you a photo of your gifts because you want a loaf on Christmas Eve.
He's not.
My family's got COVID.
He's not. We're not sure what all's going on.
Hashtag petty. No, I hope everybody's good in the
Y'all petty as hell.
Yeah, in the Foster household. We'll be right back with more of your phone calls. JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
Tighten up, gas pedal.
What is happening? JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone, hanging out with you here on this Christmas Eve on a Victory Friday and a Reaction Friday. 615-737-1045. You're set to go out and do the last-second shopping you should have done back in the summer. Tots and pears from all of us to all of you.
Don't shame them. It happens.
A lot of you hanging out with us on YouTube this morning already really early. So you guys are up drinking eggnog, wrapping gifts, planning to go to church later today or whatever it is that you got doing. So a lot of you just have us on somewhere in a screen in your house, and we appreciate that.
Might not have gone to sleep.
That's possible.
Might have been doing the overnight wrapping thing. That happens.
Bed ain't got no roof. I will admit, like, after the game, it's usually hard for me to shut down when you have one of those night games. I did not sleep well at all last night. I was I thought at first it was kind of caffeine, a little bit of jitters, but no, I think it was just the game and the way that it ended, knowing, and usually you'll know this if you ever do this job or get up very, very early. When you have to get up and do something sort of off schedule on a holiday or something, I'm constantly afraid I'm going to oversleep. If I have to come in early for some reason, constantly afraid I'm going to oversleep, which then means I'm not going to sleep all night because I'm going to wake up every 30 minutes thinking I'm about to be late. So I woke up several times in the 5.5 hours that I got last night, or 5 hours, maybe less than 5 hours, actually.
It was one of those things for me. I woke up probably 2 or 3 times overnight, but I didn't get to sleep until about 11 o'clock.
Right.
Because as soon as the game was over, okay, we got to get ready for tomorrow morning. I could have done this show starting at 11 o'clock last night.
So we're back from the break. 615-737-1045. You should walk in here and get this and take it there so that you can put it on the chat. Now, actually wait. We'll do it at the top of next hour.
All right.
Stephen in Lebanon. Let's get to his phone call. Stephen, what's going on?
Man, nothing much, man. I'll tell you what kept y'all up all last night, and it was Arthur Juan Brown, the man of Nashville. Having him back is just Christmas Day for me all over again. That man, him and Tannehill just said, all right, let's come out in this second half and let's get it done, boys. And it was a beautiful sight to see. We have A.J. Brown back, boys, and it is wonderful to watch. That was a heck of a win, and it's just awesome to see A.J. Brown back out there. And him being gone, with all the other stars being gone, it's giving these other players time to play, and that's what can really make a team better down the stretch, because it's not just A.J. Brown, it's a team. It's Radens out there at left tackle, somewhat holding it down. I mean, I thought Tannehill was going to have to basically pass it under 1 second last night, but those boys got it done, and I just love watching A.J. Brown back on that field, boys. Thanks. Merry Christmas.
I can't imagine any Titans fan not being excited to see 11 doing his thing last night. We talked about all the young receivers in the league. We talked about that earlier this week, and I said, look, some of these dudes, and A.J., DK, these guys, they got to keep pace because you're starting to see Justin Jefferson in year 2 maybe emerging to be one of, if not the best receiver in the league within the next couple of years. And you got some of the older guys, but you got a lot of young guys that look like they could be studs. Waddle's going to be very good. Devontae Smith is going to be very good. Jamar Chase is very good. Probably going to be backup rookie of the year winner behind Mac Jones on the offensive side of the ball, if I had to predict it. There's a lot of young guns. Last night, AJ was like, I'm not that old, folks, and I'm healthy. And I got a bye week on top of it. And I looked the part last night. And if he can just stay healthy, at times he just looks like a superhuman out there. And that's what you got from him. And you needed it. You needed all 145 yards that he gave you last night. But there was the one drive. He probably got away with offensive pass interference on one. But that's what you're going to get if you play physically.
Play, I think.
Yeah, if you play physically. Sometimes they're going to let you get away with it because that's just bully ball mentality, and you're a physical receiver and you're a bigger guy. I think that call gets made if AJ's not AJ. But AJ, the way he's built, the way he moves, he shoved off a couple of different times, and it was crafty, and it was well done. And AJ's going to get the benefit of the doubt more often than not, I think, from the officials, and did. And I'm glad that they didn't call the stuff on him because I'd rather see it be a little bit more physical, quite frankly. I understood Olsen saying what he said, that if you're a Niners fan, you're probably irate. And if that had gone the other way and it was Debo that did it to, I don't know, Monty Hooker or something like that, you'd probably be upset about it. But look, The reason why I don't like when people complain about officiating is that it eventually does tend to even out. Now, the Saints towards the end of the game with the Rams in the NFC title game, maybe a little bit different. But you had some that went your way that shouldn't have and some that didn't go your way that should have.
Well, here's an unpopular opinion. I didn't think that was defensive pass interference against A.J. Brown in the end zone.
I didn't either.
He didn't turn around.
But he didn't make a lot of contact either.
There was barely any contact.
Yeah. I actually thought the next one was closer to DPI than that one was. There was a play like 2-3 after that I thought was much more potentially, because there was much more physicality in the end zone on that play. Cousin Danny, Petty never takes a day off around here.
Never.
Says, Olsen looked like a clown last night. What was that tie? I didn't actually notice his necktie. I did notice my wife. This is how much he looks like this person. My wife's sitting there next to me. She goes, you know who he looks like? I said, Bill Hader. And she goes, how did you know what I was going to say? I'm like, sometimes it's obvious. Look at him.
I didn't think about it, but yeah, he looks like Bill Hader.
He looks like Bill Hader. And then she goes, is that his real hair? And I said, I think so.
I think that's his real hair.
And she's like, are you sure? I said, well, that's how it looked when he played.
Oh, wow. That's how he's always looked. Now, if you want to talk about kind of ridiculous clothing, Dylan Radins' hat after the game.
I did not see it. I'm going to have to look that
out
up.
of the Cam Newton wardrobe. That was that was a rookie mistake from Dylan. The hat wasn't great.
Look, man, he played. He was forced to start at left tackle. If he wants to wear that hat after a win, that's all right.
Well, and it's the Christmas season, so he gets a pass on it. The hat was a little,
Cousin Danny then says, or the freaking haircut. Just talked about the hair. Just talked about it, man. Straight out of the Rocky Horror collection.
I thought Kevin Burkhart's jacket was a little weird.
We can't talk about jackets anymore after Kurt Warner.
That's true.
That was a Jiffy Pop special.
After the space jacket.
I don't know what that was. Brenda had to have picked that out.
Why? He may have terrible
You saw
taste.
what I said. You saw what I tweeted out, right? That when I was interviewing Kurt and Brenda, Brenda right before the interview, she's like, oh, Kurt, you have the same shoes. They were Cole Haan's. And I was like, nice. I like Kurt Warner. Big fan of Kurt Warner. If he's got my shoes, all right. Then I saw the jacket, and I'm like, probably need to toss those shoes. Told you, man, Petty didn't take a day off. It might be Christmas Eve. But I'm going to get all the Petty out today. Because tomorrow I'm going to watch my 8-month-old daughter play with boxes and wrapping paper. And probably struggle along with my dog.
This is the best time in terms of Christmas presents for your child. Because you don't have to buy anything.
No, and we didn't. Just so you know.
Hey, why would you?
I mean,
she's not even a year old.
Grandy got her something, and it's going to be the death of us because it's one of those rolling walker things.
Oh, well, it's over.
Oh, it's over.
Oh, it's game over, man.
It's definitely over. Jeff Schwartz will join us in about 25 minutes. When we come back, gift-giving time, and Moan's going to see. Well, he's probably not awake, let's be real.
No, he may be awake.
Maybe. He's going to see at least one of the things that he got because you got it too. And luckily for you, it's not COVID.
He doesn't have it either, by the way.
No, he does not. Tested negative, and hopefully that will not change, and hopefully the member of his family that was not that lucky is going to be good to go and that they can enjoy their Christmas. We'll be right back. Hour number 2 on this Reaction Victory Friday, 615-737-1045. What'd you see, and how excited are you, Titans fans? It's JMart and Ramon on Christmas Eve on 1045 The Zone. Hey, I want to talk to you about Michael Ramsey and my good friends over at PAI Medical, and Merry Christmas to all of them. The help that they're giving to thousands of men and women when it comes to their hair loss is really, really important. And just a couple months ago, I decided, you know what? After talking to them and seeing, hey, you know what? We can thicken up your crown if you want. I said, you know what? Why not? And they showed me a plan that made sense. It hit my budget exactly where it needed to. And so I got it done. Surgical procedure, non-surgical procedure, doesn't matter. They have the most advanced in the country. Laser therapy treatments, PRP, nutrient-rich plasma extracted from your blood, concentrated before being reintroduced into your scalp. And these guys at PAI Medical, they are the We Grow Hair people. You've seen the billboards. You want to be the guy on the right, but you don't want to believe that it happens overnight, because that's not going to look right, and it's not going to look right to the people that know you. Good news is it takes about 12 to 15 months. That just shows you the before and after. You can't get all of the photos you would need to put on a billboard. So it takes a while. For me, a little bit of hair shedding before it even begins to grow in. But over the next couple of months, I'm going to start seeing benefits of it, and I'll be able to show it to you right on Zone TV, and I'm looking forward to doing it. I love Michael. I love the guys at PAI. After meeting them, felt so at home. Great people with a great plan, absolute experts. They've helped Nashville for over 25 years. All they do is hair. They're the very best at it. 615-376-6010. Go ahead and write that down. Call them, and you tell them, I heard what JMart's doing. I want to talk to you and see if you can do that for me. 376-6010. Talk to Michael and his staff. See what plan they have for you. You'll be glad you did. Or visit them online, wegrowhair.com. That's wegrowhair.com.
Good morning. It is 7:02. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. Powered by a superb performance from A.J. Brown in his first game back from injured reserve, the Tennessee Titans rallied from a 10-0 first-half deficit to defeat the San Francisco 49ers 20-17 on Thursday Night Football at Nissan Stadium. Arthur Juan had 11 catches for 145 yards and a touchdown.
Tannehill in the gun has Foreman on his left hip. Tannehill drops. Pressure coming. He fires downfield. Touchdown! Titans! Arthur Juan Brown, welcome home!
That score gave the Titans a 17-10 lead. Niners able to tie the game on a 95-yard touchdown drive, but Randy Bullock nailed the game-winning 44-yard field goal with 9 seconds remaining to lift the Titans to victory. With the win, Titans improved to 10-5 and can clinch the AFC South with an Indianapolis Colts loss. Speaking of the Colts, at Arizona tomorrow, Christmas night, 7:15 will be the kickoff. Cleveland at Green Bay earlier at 3:30. You can hear both the games right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour number 2 on this Christmas Eve on a Victory Friday as the Titans win on Thursday Night Football to go to 10-5. I think they're going to finish 12-5. That's how important that win was last night. AJ looks the part again as he's back from injury, 145 yards in his return game and a touchdown. Monstrous in the second half. Nothing was monstrous about the Titans offense in the first half at all.
Well, it was a monstrosity.
It was unwatchable. 7 first down plays, 1 total yard. And, yeah, we're going to talk about Todd Downing. No question. Yep. Jeff Schwartz, by the way, will join us next segment. What are you saying? Oh, you said yeah.
Oh, yep. Yep. We got to do it.
615-737-1045. That's the telephone number. 737-1045.
It's like the title of that movie. We got to talk about Kevin. Got to talk about Todd.
Yeah, that's right. Kiefer Sutherland in that one?
I think it was Tilda Swinton in that one, actually.
Oh, there it is. Mm-hmm. JMart and Ramon, sans the Ramon. Hopefully he and the family are feeling good. A little bit of a COVID situation outside of his immediate family. But he was close by enough that we're going to take some precautions today and just give him the early holiday. I would love to think that he was listening and trying to, do some part of his job, but that's probably asking too much.
Calorie sap.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
QB snake.
Jimmy Garoppolo 1-6 this season when throwing an interception. Undefeated when he does not throw a pick.
By the way, boys and girls, turnover margin. We saw it last night.
Yep. That's more like it.
If the Tennessee Titans don't turn the ball over, compete with anybody.
Yep.
Now, that's an obvious Magic Johnson tweet type of statement, but numbers bear it out.
It absolutely does. So Dylan Radins played every snap last night. Saw that put out. They all had to, basically.
There was no one left.
Brewer, Quessenberry, Radins, Nate Davis, Ben Jones played every snap. Every single snap. Julio's out there for 31 snaps, AJ 46. And just so you know, Michael Pruitt 27, Jeff Swaim 31, Anthony Firkser 16. That dude's
well, he at least had a big third down catch.
He did make a catch, yes. And that's more the Firkser we used to see.
But that also makes considering how much protection you needed to help with that offensive line in terms of blocking tight ends. So that makes sense as well. We have to put that in context.
Block. That's one thing we know for sure about Firkser. He's not out there to block. But they got the win. And that's how we bring this Christmas Eve version of JMart and Ramon, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, to you here. All right, the gifts are here. You can walk in here and grab them if you would like.
All right, I'll do that.
Yeah, now's the time. We're going to show this on the camera on Zone Chat. If you're not there, a lot of you hanging out this morning means a lot of you are up doing something, and we appreciate that. I'm looking right now at the screen. It says, was last night an endorsement of the Titans or an indictment of Jimmy Garoppolo? I think both are certainly accurate. Jimmy G was playing great football, but he ran into a defense that made him revert to the old guy. And whatever you want to say about Kyle Shanahan is now, 4 games beneath 500 as a head coach? That's a game that everybody thought they were going to win, which is exactly why Vrabel does this. And that's good, by the way. All right, so you got it in there, right? 615-737-1045.
Phrasing?
Yeah. Good Lord, man.
Not my fault.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So you open, just make sure that the camera can see it, because you'll understand relatively quickly why I wanted you to do it on camera.
Okay,
one
so
of these, both of these, Moan will eventually get, but only one of them exists right now.
Okay, all right. So we're going to do the whole.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it appears to be a T-shirt, which is fine.
Yep. I'm
guessing in some way it's super petty. Unless it's the T-shirt that I've been wanting for months.
Wonder if that's what it is.
I think it's what it is.
I wonder if that's what it is.
Oh, y'all. If this is what I think it is, I'm going to show you on the camera, and
told you.
You're going to absolutely love it.
I told you.
There it is. Yep. That's what we've been looking for. All right. So here it is on the camera.
I told you. It's going to be sort of hard to see, but it says it's a military green shirt designed by our guy, Courtney, over at Tomahawk Designs. We've been working with him for months. Soon, you're hopefully going to be able to reap the benefits of that. Had a good conversation. That's it. Just here for the violence.
So what I'm going to do
our
is
logo.
I'm going to put this on the cardboard cutout, Ramon.
There you go.
So it can be on the camera all the time.
There you go.
Thank you, by the way.
Yes. So that's one of them. You're not done.
Oh, okay.
There's another shirt in there.
Well, there's another. All right, so maybe this is the petty one. All right, there's another one in there. And then you got to show everybody what I got you then.
Oh, I definitely will.
No. All right, let's go. We're going to unwrap this one. Hoshka. And this one is.
Tell me I don't know what I'm doing.
This one literally says.
Sometimes we just do.
Yep. He's going to hold that one up to the camera now, too. Moan will be getting both of those as well. One of them, we got to wait to get the proper one for him. But that one right there, he was going to get today as well.
It's fantastic.
Got our logo underneath it. Zone tag on it.
Grab the sweatshirt I got you.
Oh, yeah. So I see dibs on that shirt. I want one. And what I got, and this is cool because I actually got the original one of these when the promotion first started, but it's like not soft. It's not comfortable. This one's the opposite, I can tell. This is the new version of the AEW All Elite Wrestling hoodie. The one that's being worn by all the talent right now.
The full zip as well.
Yeah, full zip and the soft model. This one you will see me wear quite a bit, so I appreciate this very, very much.
We did it.
And you have one that you're going to get off here. So.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you've got a couple of pieces of merch.
All right. So we'll put this for the fam. We'll put this on the fake Ramon so you can see it.
And obviously take photos and
sure.
We'll be tweeting those out from the account too. So, Moan, when you see it, those 2 shirts are also going to be yours, in addition to another gift that we're going to do off the air. But there it is. So yeah, we're J&R Gear is coming in 2022. Had a little bit of a conversation yesterday. We're getting closer. We had to kind of jump through a couple of hoops to do it, but we got the guy. We got somebody that not just a pro designer, but a designer that is part of you, that loves this show. And we've been trying to do this now for a while, and we got some really cool ideas, and just looking forward to being able to bring them to you. So this one is, I bet Cousin Andrew is going to be into this shirt quite a bit. Military green, just here for the violence. You can see the X there. Our version of the X, and then our logo right underneath it.
I just remember the first time I saw that design, I popped immediately for it. That was my favorite.
Yeah. Well, there it is. I've got one of each as well. Right now, those are the only models that exist. Could have given Moan the Clawfence shirt.
I still got to get from Courtney the 807 shirt. We've still been working on that.
Well, he can get it done. I can promise you that. So appreciate Courtney and everybody at Tomahawk for helping us out with that. And stay tuned as it relates to being able to own your own versions of a lot of these as we move. So there you go. Christmas Eve, gifts all around. Shafe has just kind of been like, man, I really want that shirt. I'm like, yeah, well, just wait. We got you. Got it covered. Made a trip. Remember that day earlier this week when I said, hey, I got to go shop for my wife?
Yeah, I thought it was weird when you said, I got to go on a drive.
Yeah.
I'm like, well.
I had to drive to the borough and pick these bad boys up.
That was. Because it was strange how you phrased that.
Yes.
Phrasing?
Because I remember when you said it, I went, why is it being so secretive?
I should have just been like, I got to go. I got something I got to do. But instead, I'm like, I've got to make a drive.
Yeah, you could have even said, yeah, I got to go to the borough. And you wouldn't have thought anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not my best work. Hey, I got to go get your gifts. Here's what they are.
It was a bit.
Dude, and we got Jeff coming up on the other side. Jeff Schwartz. Last night.
I just triggered you.
Last night. CG knew I had to work. That's obvious.
I love the Christmas present she's getting.
Last night, she was up till the fourth quarter.
Ooh.
She would not go down.
So that was.
Put her down, sobbed, just kept eating.
9:30-ish.
Dude, it was a little past 9:30. That's like sometimes 2 hours past her bedtime. She was not having any of it. She knew the Titans were coming back and she wanted to see it.
Yeah. She was all.
This really pisses me off.
Looking at Abby's face, I was just like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Don't know what to tell you.
Baby's gonna baby.
When we come back, Jeff Schwartz talking about the Tennessee Titans coming off a win.
This is our gift to you because you all love hate listening to him.
Yeah, well,
this is our gift.
You watch The Grinch every year. The Grinch joins us next. Jeff Schwartz. It's JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, when was the last time you had your air ducts cleaned? It's probably a question you haven't thought about. Maybe you have it written down somewhere, but you probably couldn't just answer me right off the top of your head. But are you confident in the quality of your indoor air? Now you're thinking about it. You've been like, when was that? Has it been years? Well, now's a good time to go ahead and schedule a duct cleaning with Lee Company. Air ducts trap dust. They trap debris. They trap pet hair. All this stuff. Just not stuff you'd need to be breathing in and not stuff that's going to be efficient for your HVAC. And that means you're paying more money than you need to be. When you get your air ducts cleaned, you enjoy fresher air, less dust, and again, increased HVAC efficiency. And right now, 10% off your next duct cleaning with Lee Company. So let's save a little bit of money. Let's get that done. Then you can write down the last time I had my air ducts cleaned was December 28th. Call Lee Company, 615-567-1000, 615-567-1000, or go online right now, leecompany.com/promotions to claim this offer today.
Tannehill in the gun against a four-man rush. Tannehill looking. Under pressure, can run this thing. Tannehill to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, and he's taken down at the 32-yard line. The legs of Ryan Tannehill. Norman finally makes the tackle as they'll spot it officially at the 31.
JMart and Ramon, 104.5 is on the voice of the Tennessee Titans. You just heard there from Titans Radio last night. Mike Keith will pop in next hour, get his reaction to the big win last night. Titans 10-5. I think they're going to finish 12-5. Had they lost last night, we might be having a different conversation, but they won the game, beat the Niners in primetime, just like they beat the Bills on Monday Night Football and the Rams on Sunday Night Football 5 days after Derrick Henry went down. This is just kind of what they do. By the way, Ramon is in the chat. He's not on the show. He's going to get his test right now. But I just see it, and I'm like, well, interesting. Interesting. He's sort of...
Sometimes we just do.
He's sort of near work.
Work-ish.
He said, LOL, that shirt is amazing, Jason. So he can see it on the chat. They're just here for the Violence, JMart and Ramon special.
We'll put the other one up here.
Yeah, the other one. You haven't seen the other one, Moan.
Nope, you haven't seen the other one yet.
No one has seen that other than me because...
No, I did show that one to the camera.
Well, no, I meant before this morning.
Meaning this morning,
Moan
right.
already knew that shirt existed because he had seen...
yeah, the mock-up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. To the Marksman Real Estate Hotline. It's Christmas Eve. Usually I'm doing radio with this guy. For years, this would be the day, Jeff. Jeff Schwartz joining us on the line. How many Christmas Eve, Christmas Day shows? I remember us doing multiple shows. Pretty much if there was a holiday, we were probably doing Fox Sports Radio together.
Yeah, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Christmas, and then like for a week around 4th. The worst was always 4th of July week because it's like there's no one's talking about baseball. Sorry, and I love baseball, but no one's talking about baseball. And like NBA free agency is not as exciting as social media wants it to be. Oh my God, the Lakers signed someone else. Wow, the Nets got 4 guys. Whoa. Oh, a guy I don't even know plays NBA got $80 million. Wow, good for you, buddy. Like that's no one cares about that. So, but Thanksgiving and Christmas are always good because we had football. Yeah, I'm on tomorrow, my normal Fox Sports Radio slot. So I'll be not with I'll be with Steve, and I know you have your show as well. So yeah, I mean we have lots of football. Obviously, I believe there's no game today because the bowl game got canceled. The Hawaii Bowl got canceled, and otherwise we have a big weekend of football.
Yeah, the Hawaii can't play in the Hawaii Bowl.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that because there's like a mutiny happening on that team. I don't know if you paid attention. Like they hate their coach, and I do wonder if this is less about COVID and more about like opt-outs and transfers. And yeah, I'm sure there's some COVID issues on the team as we're seeing around the country. I'm not denying that, but I do wonder if this is not as much like, A&M had 38 players able to play. I think Hawaii has more than 38 players.
Yeah. So last night, Jeff, everybody's talking about the Niners have righted the ship. We were in a text chain. It was you and me and Moan, and I was thinking, well, let's just see which Jimmy shows up because I still don't believe in this guy. Doesn't mean that he can't win games and go on stretches where he plays decent football, but what I saw last night I've seen way too often. If I'm Kyle Shanahan, who's now 4 games under 500 as a head coach in the NFL, he's got to be rolling his eyes saying, man, my offense needs a better caretaker than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I was surprised Mike Vrabel got 12 players to play on their defense because somehow, I don't know what he did to afford Jimmy Garoppolo under the salary cap. But I mean, look, the Titans obviously came back and won that game, and they were down 10-0 and deserve credit for that. But I mean, Jimmy G threw that game away. Like he had one terrible interception in the red zone. Kittle wasn't open the entire time. It was a good play by, I think it was Jack Rabbit, right, who made the interception. And then they come out and immediately, first play, second half, right? Just immediately throw an interception. And their first play, second half, the Titans came down and kicked the field goal. And it's like you can't win if your quarterback can't do basic things for you. And no matter how good Shanahan is a play caller, he and John Lynch choose these players, right? There's a lot of he has on the quarterback position, obviously, and he has chosen to go with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? There were instances where they could have upgraded, and they just didn't. Supposedly he didn't want Tom Brady, right? And there was, he didn't want Pat Mahomes, and he hasn't wanted to go big on the draft until this year. They drafted Trey Lance, who's not ready to play, and so you have a situation where your team is really good. It's kind of like they're a lot like the Colts, where they have a really good roster and just not a good quarterback. And the Colts and Niners, I think, have almost the same record, especially if the Colts lose this weekend. I think they have the same record. So they're both in the same spot. Really good roster, and they deserve the love that they get for the roster building and some of the construction of the game. But their quarterback just sinks their ship, and Ryan Tannehill is the opposite, right? He doesn't really lose games for the Titans. There are times when I'm not sure he hasn't played to the level he has last year, put it like that. But rarely do you think to yourself, oh, Tannehill lost this game for us, right? Like, that's not what Tennessee is about. And that's very important when you evaluate which teams can move on in the playoffs, because it is a very quarterback-heavy league, especially when you approach the postseason. Ryan Tannehill last night had that long run to set up the field goal to win the game and played very well in the second half. And Jimmy G didn't, and that's the difference a lot of times in winning and losing in this league.
Yeah, so let's talk about the position you know the best. We had Aaron Brewer, David Quessenberry, Nate Davis, Ben Jones, and Dylan Radins last night on the offensive line. I don't think that's what you ideally would want. I'm not as adept to the offensive line position as you are, Jeff, but I feel comfortable in saying that's not ideal. That's not what you necessarily wanted. And I sent you a message yesterday morning, I think, and said, hey, I remember asking you the night of the draft, and certainly I was talking to Moan too, but you were working with Manyweather and you had looked at a lot of tape of a lot of offensive linemen. And I said, what do you think about Dylan Radins? And you said undersized, I believe, maybe not quite explosive enough. You didn't like the pick for Tennessee. So that said, assess how he looked last night playing the toughest position, arguably, certainly on that line, playing left tackle, stepping in against that pass rush. How do you think he held up?
They played much better in the second half, obviously, than the first half. And I think that Rabel, or no, he's not the play caller, but whoever the play caller is, it's Todd Downing, right?
Yeah.
The play caller there. He really in the second half, I think, decided to just be more aggressive, because the first half they definitely called plays like they were scared of their offensive line, right? 2nd and 12 runs, 3rd and 13 draws, things like that. And that's play calling when you're scared. And the offensive line did not play well in the first half, but I felt they really settled in the second half and just played a lot more consistent football. And that's all you want, right? Just some consistency so you can just move the ball down the field. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to obviously score points. And so that's all you can hope for. They had a big play obviously on the offsides where they threw the ball downfield to Brown. I mean, the Niners, like, you're watching the game, you're like, hey guys, you're probably a double 11. He's the guy getting all the targets. Like, why don't you double him? And they had an odd game plan with San Francisco, but since he took advantage of it. So the offensive line, I think, first half got not a passing grade. The second half, I think it's fair to say they passed.
What do you think of A.J. Brown? Comes back, has 145 yards and a touchdown. I know San Francisco's secondary is not the strength of their team, but A.J. certainly looked like the guy you would expect a healthy A.J. Brown to have looked like, and he hadn't had a great year. Even when he was out there, it wasn't as good as we had seen over the last few years from him, but last night he certainly looked like exactly the dude you would want in the playoffs at that position.
Yeah, he looked. I mean, I think that the important thing is he looked strong, right? I know there was some complaining about push-offs and whatnot. I didn't think that the free play was much of a push-off. I think the one that happened directly after that, where he threw the corner to the ground, was a push-off. But I just think he looked strong, right? He looked healthy. I think that's important when you get to the playoffs, is just kind of strong catches, use his hands really well, and kind of bullied some defensive backs. And I think that's what you want from a guy like that. So I think that was impressive to see. And again, I mean, I can't imagine he had any less than 50% of the targets last night. I could look it up, certainly. And you need a guy like that in a game when you're behind and you're trying to make some plays. And, that free play is important, right? That was 3rd and 23. It would have been 3rd and 18, I think, with the free play and just going up and making a play. I mean, that's why you pay him all that money. It's why he's there, and those plays change games, and it definitely changed that game.
So assuming, the health stays the way that it does, AJ's able to keep it going for the rest of the regular season into the postseason, a lot of people believe Derrick Henry's back whether it's the wild card or whether or not somehow the Titans do end up with the bye, he plays in the playoffs. Look at the AFC as a whole. Where do you stack the Titans there? And overall right now, how do you sense that conference?
Well, definitely it's the Chiefs conference right now. I mean, obviously this weekend is important because they have to keep up with the Titans, who are probably going to win out. And the Chiefs, lose a game, they're going to lose the 1 seed. So they have that tiebreaker loss. Obviously, Hill and Kelsey, it's important they come back for this game. I think the Chiefs can win without those two. It'll be more difficult because their defense got healthier, got guys back off the COVID list, so they should be able to limit the Steelers' ability to score points this weekend. But I think it's the Chiefs. I mean, if you look again, I think I talk about quarterback play, right? And you think to yourself, okay, well, let's break down how this would work, right? So you're going to have to win. If you don't have the bye, you're going to have to win 3 playoff games to make a Super Bowl. And we've seen that since 2012, only one team has made the Super Bowl without a bye. That was the Bucs last year. And Tom Brady won 3 road playoff games. How many quarterbacks are in the NFL winning 3 road playoff games? Can you envision in the AFC conference? Let's go AFC, right? Mahomes, you can see that happening. It's tough, but the Chiefs win 3 road playoff games, sure. Buffalo, I guess maybe with their offense hasn't been quite the same this year. Okay, I could buy that. Jason, can you buy Tennessee if they had to? They're going to win their division, so the 3 road playoff games not going to happen. But let's say 1 home playoff game and 2 road playoff games. Are they going to? Do you trust Ryan Tannehill to do that?
If Derrick Henry doesn't come back, I don't think they can get to the Super Bowl and win it. If he does come back and he's what you anticipate Derrick Henry being, I picked him in the preseason to win the Super Bowl, and I don't back off that prediction. So I think it all comes down to that. Do I think they can go on the road? Yeah, I did. I did it like a month before the season. I said it was going to be Titans-Rams, and I still feel pretty good about the Titans because they find a way. And now, look, Ryan Tannehill was battle-tested for 6 weeks with a lot of weapon issues. Then he gets A.J. back last night, and he's beaming ear to ear. If you get Derrick Henry back, do I think Derrick Henry can go on the road and win 2 playoff games against the AFC this year? Absolutely. Because I agree with you about the Chiefs. The Chiefs are frightening, and they've peaked like they usually do where the defense starts to play better. How important was it, Jeff, from your perspective, to move Chris Jones back to the inside? I know he wanted to be on the outside, but as soon as they moved him back in on the interior, that defense just started playing immensely better.
I'm not sure he wanted to play on the inside. On the outside. I think they put him on the outside because they needed some help because they had no defensive end. So when you bring Ingram back inside, over to the roster, that allows Chris Jones to go back inside. He didn't play last week, obviously, and he still leads the NFL in pressure since week 8. I mean, he is a monster inside, and that allows, obviously, Ingram to do work on the outside. I can't believe the Steelers gave away Ingram. I mean, he's been such an important piece of that defense. There's some scheme changes they made and play more zone, less man coverage. Sorensen's off the field a little bit more now, which is important for that defense. But it's been such a good thing to see him back inside. And you're right. It's honestly less about the offense for Kansas City. And we saw in 2019 the reason that they won the Super Bowl was their defense, right? Their defense down the stretch played really well. We're seeing that obviously now. And they have played some quarterbacks that aren't terribly good, but that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to shut down bad teams, and they had that stretch there where they allowed 9 points for 3 straight weeks. And they in last week even, you're on the road, you have a bunch of guys out because of COVID, and you have 3 75-yard touchdown drives to win the game, and that's what championship caliber teams do. And the Chargers had an opportunity to win that game. They had 1 minute and 10 left and 3 timeouts or something, and opportunity to go kick a field goal, and they didn't do it. And that's often the difference between winning and losing playoff games. The Chiefs just have been there before, so there's no panic. And even if they do, even if they run through as a wild card round, I think they can still do it.
So MVP vote right now, if you listen to everybody, they're saying it's a 2-man race. They're not even talking about Brady now. And maybe you expect because Godwin's out and they're just kind of banged up that maybe he's going to kind of limp to the end of the regular season at the very least. But you're hearing Aaron Rodgers certainly. And then you're hearing about Jonathan Taylor, which makes every Titans fan see red because they see a scenario where Derrick Henry didn't get a single vote last year despite going over 2,000 yards. One thing I don't know that people know, Jeff, is that when you vote for MVP, you get 1 vote. You don't vote a top 3 or a top 5. So last year when you saw Aaron Rodgers throw for whatever it was, 47 touchdowns, he was clearly the MVP of the league last year. And so many people put him on their ballot. that changes things. This year it's different because the quarterback play hasn't been nearly as deep or maybe nearly as good. Even though I think Rodgers wins it, what would you say to Titans fans that are just chapped because Jonathan Taylor is being talked about so much in the absence of their guy?
I don't know. Grow up. I don't know. What do you want to tell you? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, what do you want me to tell you? I mean, it's a different season. Look, there should be 2 awards. Well, there really are 2 awards, right? There's Offensive Player of the Year, there's MVP, but there should be like MVP for most valuable player, like who is the most valuable player in the NFL, and then just a quarterback award. And obviously Jonathan Taylor is very valuable to what the Colts do. Aaron Rodgers is very important to what the Packers do. But Ryan Tannehill is much better than Carson Wentz. Like we've seen, right? They saw last night. They were having an offense that's able to function without Derrick Henry. Without Derrick Henry. But if Jonathan Taylor doesn't play this weekend, what is the Colts offense? It's 5 for 12 Carson Wentz. Is that what the offense is going to be? I mean, so I could make an argument that if we are talking about the most valuable player, that Jonathan Taylor is very valuable to the Colts winning and losing. But this is a quarterback award. It's going to be Rodgers, Brady, Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes has 3 games left against probably 2 playoff teams in the Bengals and Steelers. Well, I guess fringe playoff teams, Bengals, Steelers, and then maybe the Broncos in Week 18 are playing for a wild card berth. We'll find out depending on how they win this weekend in Vegas. I mean, he throws 12 touchdowns over 4 weeks. I think he's in the conversation as well. So, yeah, Taylor's not going to win the award. And, okay, Titans fans, you're upset Henry didn't win it last year. Well, guess what? Taylor's not winning it this year. So, this is what the NFL is. And Derrick Henry won Offensive Player of the Year last year. I'm sure Taylor will win Offensive Player of the Year this year. I mean, there is a way to get award for a great season, just not going to be the MVP.
Cardinals, Colts. Obviously, anybody in the AFC South is watching the Colts and the AFC period because they're trending in the right time outside of a quarterback, which I think is going to be their undoing. Even if they make it into the playoffs, you just can't trust Carson Wentz in that situation. But I'm more interested in the Cardinals from one perspective. Did they peak too early? You take Hopkins out of this thing. They seem to be trending in the wrong direction. Does this look like the classic example of a team that had a heck of a year, limps a little bit into the playoffs, and gets beat in their first game?
They always limp to the postseason under Kingsbury. Really limp to the end of the season. Look at his record at Texas Tech. He was there for 6 years. Every single season, -1 when they were just bad. He started 5-2 and finished 5-7. He started 4-0 and finished 5-7. He started 6-0 and finished 6-6. Look at the NFL. The first year was like 3-3-1 to start through 7 weeks and finished I think 6-10, 6-9-1. Last year they started 6-2. They finished with 8 wins. This year it started 8-0 and now they're 10-4. This is what they do. They limp to the finish line because his offense, it gets predictable. He makes no adjustments, and his team gets worse throughout the season. And so they're going to lose this weekend. And the Colts are going to beat them. It's a bad matchup for Arizona's run defense and the Colts defense. And we talk about their offense, but their defense is flying around lately. They're making a ton of plays, and the Colts are just going to get it done. Now, the Titans have the tiebreaker, right? So they have basically a 2-game lead, even though they're only up a single game right now. And if they win one more game and the Colts lose a game, then the Titans win the division. That's why head-to-head games are very important in division. So I wouldn't worry if I was the Titans about not winning the division. But I think the Colts, they win this game just because Arizona. Every year, same thing every year, and it's going to continue to happen until Kingsbury, I don't know, figure something else out. I don't know what to tell you. It's been 9 years now of the same exact thing. Eventually that becomes who you are.
Final question. Does your green Christmas tree know that it is walking the green mile? Like as you walk past it, does it recognize that its days are numbered? And what is the status of that Christmas tree considering your wife's propensity to try and get rid of it before Christmas even gets there?
Yeah, she's not working today, so I'm terrified of the tree not making it through today. And I have to work from 12 to 3, so there's a 3-hour window where I'm kind of not in charge of things in the house. Well, actually, take that back. I'm never in charge of things, but at least I'm here just to maybe steer her in a different direction. She's furiously cleaning right now around the house. That's how she kind of deals with life. And I think it's going to make it because I told her about the kids. I said, think about the kids, hon. Think about the kids, okay? The kids are excited. Santa's coming tomorrow. and the tree needs to set up for today. So I think I've made it. I think we'll have a stay of execution for today. But I mean, that thing is out tomorrow morning. My kids will get up at it's Christmas morning. I don't know, 6:30 maybe 6 o'clock. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if by sunrise that thing is already down and the ornaments are coming off of it.
So you tell me, I listen to people's advice that have had children longer than me. What we got, Clara Grace, is boxes and wrapping paper, basically for tomorrow.
Yeah,
now, the grandparents may have gotten
yeah.
her a couple. As a matter of fact, I know they got her a couple nice things, but we've basically been told, look, don't worry about getting expensive toys. Just give her boxes and wrapping paper, basically like she's a pet, and that's all she'll want tomorrow.
Yeah, she doesn't know what she wants. They don't know what they want till about 3, and even then, it's hard to verbalize it. I mean, even now, my kids are unbelievable. They're 5 and 7. The 7-year-old for Christmas. Again, we celebrate Hanukkah. They already got 8 presents. I think their presents for Christmas are they can probably hear me now. That's not very much. But for Hanukkah, they got some cool stuff. But my son was like, "Hey, I want a golf cart." I said, "Excuse me? Golf cart for what?" He goes, "Oh, just to ride on the neighborhood with." I said, "Okay, well, that's pretty bougie. That's not happening." And then my daughter, who's 5, is like, "I want virtual reality goggles." I said, "Hun, what have you seen those?" "Oh, on YouTube. They look cool." I'm like, "All right, that's enough of that." So my kids are gonna be pretty pissed when they get socks and underwear tomorrow.
Well, there you go, Jeff. Well, and thoughts and prayers to your children now as well as to your Christmas tree. But Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to you and the family. We appreciate you making time this morning, brother.
All right, take care, guys. Have a great one, everyone.
Yeah,
Happy holidays.
You too, man. That's Jeff Schwartz. Hate listen. Just paint him green. For the most part, not really anything to hate there.
See,
he took the one shot.
I don't think he was wrong.
No,
by the way.
no,
But here's the thing. His reputation, I don't think it's fair. Because when he comes onto the show, what he says is usually pretty sound, pretty reasonable. It really has been.
We got a great stat about A.J. Brown that Field Yates just tweeted out. We will lead off with that. Plus, more of your phone calls. 615-737-1045. It is a Victory Friday. It's Christmas Eve. I know you're feeling good. Before you get into the nog, place a call. Actually, you know what? Get into the nog, then place a call.
Then place the call. There, that's right.
615-737-1045. We'll be right back. It is JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
Tighten up.
Hey, it's JMart. So I was telling you back in January, maybe one of your New Year's resolutions was a new home or maybe your first home. And then I said in June, hey, we're about halfway through the year, but you can still pay off this resolution. It's Christmas Eve. Maybe now you're starting to look into 2022, but there's still some time. Whether or not it's lowering a rate, maybe you're exactly happy where you are, but you're paying a little bit more than you think you should be. Or maybe it is time, and maybe you have a home in mind, and you've seen a sign. Well, I'll tell you what, that sign's probably not there in a couple of days, so you better find it quick. I got the team for you. It's my guys at Mortgage Investors Group. Whether it's the first home, the fifth home, the forever home, they've got you covered. Or if you do, indeed, just want to pay a little bit less where you are, they can help you. They are committed to helping Tennesseans like you and your family fulfill your dreams of home ownership. Their mortgage experts will find and structure the mortgage that best fits your needs, best achieves your goals, because Mortgage Investors Group wants to be your home loan lender. Buying a new home, they got you. Need to lower your home loan payment, they got you. Let them work for you. Go to migonline.com for the advice you need to get you started and get you ahead. Mortgage Investors Group, with offices to serve you in Brentwood, in Cool Springs, in Hendersonville, somewhere near you, they got you covered. migonline.com. migonline.com, or text MIG to 31399. That's the letters MIG to 31399. Get pre-qualified and get moving with Mortgage Investors Group. Equal housing lender, license number 109111.
Tannehill would love to get a free 5 here as we're inside 10 seconds. He does get him to jump. It's a free play. Tannehill steps up, fires deep downfield, going for Brown. A.J.'s got it at the 30-yard line. Tannehill, the magic man, draws him on 3rd and 22, and then somehow, some way, is able to pick up 42.
Yeah, that was a crazy play. Only thing AJ did wrong last night was try to throw that pass.
Well,
and it wasn't bad. It was just a little bit. That was a play they didn't need.
That play call was ridiculous.
Like when I saw him, like, Todd, dude, there's no reason to do that.
I'm one of those people that even if certain plays work out, it doesn't mean it was necessarily the right decision. Even if that play would have worked, it was a terrible decision.
It was. I agree. I was just like, well, there's no reason to get crafty here.
No,
we don't need this. We don't need trick plays.
No,
you got the guy back because he's an all-world wide receiver. How good was A.J. Brown in his return last night? This tweet from Field Yates of ESPN. He accounted for 69.4% of the Titans' receiving yards, the most by any NFL player in a game this season, and 8 catches on 3rd down, the most by any player since at least 1978. That was the year I was born. Good Lord, I'm old. 43 years since somebody had 8 catches on 3rd down like A.J. did last night.
Remarkable.
Crazy good.
Just remarkable.
Good to have him back, man. If you're listening this morning, AJ, good to see you, bro. Good to see you smiling in the postgame. Don't sway that much, but you had so much energy you couldn't stop, like, bobbing back and forth in and out of your.
Excited.
Like, oh, I know he was. He was just happy to play.
It just further proved what we said literally all day Monday. Titans didn't have any playmakers. I remember watching this franchise and watching this team when it had 0 playmakers. They'd go out there, they'd put forth a great effort. They would. Good effort, good job. That's what they would do. But if you don't have playmakers, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. 615-737-1045. Call in. Tell us what's going on this Victory Reaction Friday on Christmas Eve. Let's go to Rob. He's up first here. Rob, Merry Christmas. What's going on?
Oh, man, just sitting here looking at the Gulf of Mexico and thinking, God, it's beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just, I was so hesitant on putting a bet on the Titans yesterday, and I was like, man, my mind keeps telling me to go with Frisco, take the points. Then it's like, well, Dawn Davenport was going to go with Frisco. I said, okay, well, she's from Auburn, and they're usually wrong about everything. Auburn is. And then Taylor Lewan all of a sudden got hurt because Bosa was going to be in front of him, and he's scared to death to block a high-quality defensive end. I said, well, I would love to see the stats on what the Titans' record is when a Lewan fakes an injury and then says he's hurt and somebody else fills in for him and actually does pretty good.
I'll give you the stat.
The entire offense, worse than Julio Jones, is Taylor Lewan. If those two can be replaced with 2 average players, man, that's Super Bowl right there. All we got 2 problems on offense. Defense is fantastic. Henry will be back. You just got to get rid of those 2 right there, and, man, the sky's the limit.
Rob, Merry Christmas to you, buddy. I got the stat for you, courtesy of our pal Austin Stanley at A to Z Sports. And look, I'm on record, and I've said it for a while. 77 will not be wearing 2-tone blue next year. He won't be. And there are going to be some people that are going to be real upset about that until they actually watch the team next year. 2 years ago, I guess it would have been. Or no, in 2020, the Titans were 5-0 with Lewan, 6-6 without him. Okay? This year, they're undefeated without Taylor Lewan starting. 4-0. They're 3-0 without him in a game, 1-0 when he's left early with injuries. Beat Seattle, beat Buffalo, beat the Chiefs, beat the Rams, and now beat the Niners. And all those are opponents that at the time you thought Seattle was going to be better than they were. Bills, a lot of people thought they were headed to the Super Bowl. Chiefs, a lot of people had them going to the Super Bowl. Rams, I had them in the Super Bowl. Niners became the trendy team like the Colts in the NFC that could make a run. I heard Dan Graziano say it yesterday of ESPN. I saw Mike Tannenbaum say it also of ESPN yesterday. Who's the team that nobody wants to see in the NFC? It's the Niners. That offensive line had no business not giving up double-digit sacks last night. You replaced Taylor Lewan at left tackle with Dylan Radins, who we had seen precisely one other time this year, if I'm not mistaken. And they still won the game. And every time that happens, makes it easier to cut bait. Let's just say that. 615-737-1045. Donnie, you hang on. I know you want to talk Julio. We will get to your phone call as soon as we come back after the headlines. We got to pay some bills. It's JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
It is 8:02. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. After rallying from a 10-point deficit against the San Francisco 49ers, and with the game tied at 17, Tennessee Titans and their kicker Randy Bullock had the chance to give Titans fans a very Merry Christmas.
From the right hash, Morgan Cox, the four-time Pro Bowler, to snap it. Brett Kern to hold it. Randy Bullock to attempt. Snap, set, kick. Good!
And Bullock's 44-yarder with 9 seconds left gave the Titans a 20-17 win on Thursday Night Football at a raucous Nissan Stadium. Wide receiver A.J. Brown, Arthur Juan, his first game back from injured reserve, 11 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown. They could clinch the AFC South with a Colts loss. The Colts will play at Arizona tomorrow at 7:15. Cleveland's at Green Bay at 3:30. You can hear that doubleheader right here on The Zone on Christmas Day. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What a game! What an atmosphere! And what a lovely Christmas it will be! If you love the two-tone blue. The Titans, for the 6th time in the last 2 years, trail at halftime and yet come back to win. Final score, Tennessee 20, San Francisco 17, as the Titans get it done again.
What's happening? Hour number 3, JMart and Ramon. Merry Christmas to everybody out there from 104.5 The Zone. Ramon, hopefully he's going to get that negative test today, and the rest of his family is as well. One member of his family got the other, and that's why he's not here today. But Merry Christmas to the big guy. He's hanging out in the chat. So is Slay. Because, of course, he is.
Of course he is.
Chad ain't got no roof.
What's up, Slate?
That's kind of what he's saying. Ramon just said, y'all got a solid kicker with Big Randy. He said Big Randy. What was trending last night on Twitter, though?
Do you want to know what was trending last night on Twitter, Jason?
We do not endorse this because I asked him the question about it, and it was pretty clear without him saying, it doesn't matter. And then by the end of the answer, you could tell it kind of bothered him.
Yeah, what was trending was Fat Randy.
Yeah. Was it P-H-A-T or F-A?
It was F.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Mike Heath, voice of the Tennessee Titans, joins us in the next segment.
Sacked!
So, I remember saying this after the Super Bowl when the Chiefs beat the Niners. The difference, and this is why I predicted it the way I predicted it as well, the difference in the game was one team had Patrick Mahomes playing for them, the other one had Jimmy Garoppolo. Last night, the difference was that one team had Jimmy Garoppolo playing quarterback and the other one didn't. And that one also had A.J. Brown playing with him. Now, Deebo Samuel was great. I just kept watching the Niners thinking, man, if you had a dynamic quarterback, that team would be absolutely frightening. But you don't, so that team's probably one and done if they make the playoffs. As good as many dudes as they got on that team that are dangerous. They've got a quarterback that's dangerous in the opposite direction. Just like the Colts do, as a matter of fact. So they're very similar in that way. And earlier, and I tweeted this out as well at JMart Radio, the Jackrabbit interception is the most important play made by a Titan this year that wasn't a game-deciding play, like the stop on 4th down on Josh Allen or something like that. And there have been some other big plays this year, don't get me wrong. But the momentum that was going in all the wrong directions stopped with the interception in the end zone. Now, the one later by Hooker was good. Or that was an even worse throw by Garoppolo. But that
I think that second one was worse than the first one.
It was on Garoppolo's side, no question. But the play Jackrabbit made, if that thing's 14-0, I think we are in a much different discussion today. Because I think that might have gotten out of control. Because the momentum would have been flowing. It just would have been different. But you stopped it there. It ends up being 10-0 at the half. And I felt even better that the Titans were going to win the game because they left them in it. You can't leave Mike Vrabel teams in it, especially if you're a good team that's favored and blah, 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 all that. He eats so often on those, and that's exactly what he did last night. Let's go, as we promised. We got Donnie, we got Travis, we got Cousin Joey. Let's go to Donnie first. Donnie, what's up?
Hey, Merry Christmas.
You too.
Thank y'all for coming in today.
Sure.
That's awesome. It was a good win for us last night. I just want to ask a question. I know my man on the golf wants to get rid of Julio, but do you think that AJ would have been as effective if Julio hadn't been out there? I thought Julio was out there a lot. I think he only got targeted once. But do you think that he was sucking up some of that defensive attention to allow AJ to be effective? Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of the day.
It's a question that's really hard to answer. Julio had one catch for 7 yards last night. You barely even saw him out there. Like, you barely even noticed he was out there.
What was his offensive snap total?
It wasn't that high. He, I'll look it up here again. Let me go to Wyatt's Twitter because that's where I saw that list. I can go to the game report
and
myself,
let me add to this is that unless you've seen the all 22.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
And see where he's lined up and what formations they're running. It's easy to suggest that and assume that, but you just don't really know until you've seen the tape and really been able to break it down.
Yeah, I mean, AJ ate last night, no question. Having Julio, but it's not like there wasn't a lot of attention paid to A.J. Brown.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So A.J. last night, that's the defensive numbers. Hang on. A.J. Brown played 46 snaps, 74% of the snaps last night.
First game back, that's pretty good.
Julio played 31. He played half the snaps. He was out there for 50% of the time. Let me ask you this. I know what Julio Jones' name is. But if you had Corey Davis there, based on what you were seeing from him last year, would he have attracted the same kind of attention? At this point, knowing what Julio has actually given the Titans and how the Niners were going to scheme against them, were they that much more worried about Julio than they would have been Corey Davis had this been a year ago? I would say probably not, right?
I would agree with that.
They're probably similar. Julio's name carries clout, but what he's actually done on the field, and he's coming back from an injury and hamstring still dogging him. Like, what did they really expect him to do? The guy you knew had to eat last night for them to win was AJ.
And he did.
And he ate big time. Historically. Again, caught 8 third down passes. Nobody has done that since 1978, the year of my birth, 43 years ago. That is crazy. Let's go to Tradis in Iowa. Tradis, go ahead, brother.
Good morning, guys. Merry Christmas.
You too.
Thank you. Do you guys think Ryan Tannehill is that franchise quarterback in the future? Because I listen to, ESPN radio, and sometimes they talk about Ryan Hill like he's, Ryan Leaf's little brother. But I kind of think he's the franchise quarterback in the future. But do they need to move on?
Okay, Travis, I appreciate the call. Merry Christmas to you and your family. The question isn't, can he be the quarterback for the next couple of years? The question is, do you want him in 3 years? I'd say the answer to that is probably up in the air.
His deal runs through 2023.
Right.
We actually were looking it up after the show yesterday.
Yes. And you can do a lot worse than Ryan Tannehill. That sounds like a backhanded compliment, but it's really not. He is around, 10th to 13th best quarterback in the league, somewhere in that neighborhood. That's where he was ranked before the season. That's where he is now. Now, if you see a couple of rookies elevate, that could drop him a little bit, but we'll see. The rookie class, there's a lot to prove in the rookie quarterback class. And the one that's coming out, it's going to take a while, if ever, for guys to develop out of that class. You can win with Ryan Tannehill as long as guys are healthy.
You can win big with Ryan Tannehill.
You could. That's why I picked him to win the Super Bowl. He's good enough to win the Super Bowl with A.J. Brown, with Derrick Henry, all of that. Everybody eats around him, and he eats as well. He is very competent. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes. He's turned the ball over more this year, and he's holding the ball too long, and they got to get that repaired. Because he's holding the ball too long in the playoffs, he's going to get eaten alive.
Let's also add this. This offensive line performance yesterday, gutty, got it done. This isn't the O-line that you have going into the playoffs. You have to be healthy.
Yeah, that's right. For whatever you want to say about Taylor, that dude better be playing in the playoffs.
Same thing with Roger. Now he's on the COVID list, so he'll eventually come off it and be back in action. But he's been banged up all year.
Kendall Lamb, who nobody was expecting that much from Lamb, he didn't even get to play last night. and you still were able to win that game, and Tannehill was upright at the end of it. To me, that's a win. I mean, that thing was ugly at times. You had to look away a few times when you saw how many white jerseys were in the backfield swarming 17, and he definitely took a few licks, but it could have been way worse. And I think everybody that saw that game would agree on that one. Let's go to Cousin Joey in Cross Plains next. Joey, what's going on, brother? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, my brother. Ramon, even though you're not there, man, I miss you, bro. Merry Christmas to you and you and yours. Dude, last night, man, because I'm an Audible guy, so listen to the radio with Coach Mack and Mike Keith. Merry Christmas to those guys if they're listening. But dude, that stadium last night,
yeah, it was
man,
great.
It was. I mean, you could hear it through the radio.
Mm-hmm.
It was rocking. And what I got tickled at was right there when the game-winning field goal was our fans. We are absolutely the nuttiest bunch of people I know, because I was even sitting here doing it, chanting for Randy for his kick. I mean, dude, it was just amazing. It's like I was telling Schaefer, too, it reminds me of those early 2000s. And, I mean, it was just rocking. Now on the, not too much negative, but you know what? I do expect more out of Kendall Lamb because, they gave him, decent amount to bring him over from Cleveland, and we really haven't seen him much, mainly as the third, that jumbo tight end. But you know what? I mean, they're paying him good money, and I think he's actually going to be the one that takes Taylor's spot, and we're going to see him in the future. I agree with you. I don't think Taylor's going to be on this team. He's not the same Taylor as after that injury. Like you said, we're 4-0 when he's not in the game. And, it's like, Moan always says, your best ability is availability. And I don't think it's Taylor.
Well, I mean, I tend to agree with you on that part. I don't think Kendall Lamb's the guy.
No.
I mean, yesterday he didn't play because of COVID, but that ain't the guy.
Let me add this about the crowd yesterday at Nissan Stadium. Because, of course, it's a big game. It's a Thursday night. It's Christmas Eve. You've got that element added to it. That crowd last night was as good as any crowd as I've heard, as Joey mentioned, since the early 2000s. This is a fan base that is ravenous for its team right now. In terms of the year to win big, this has been as big of a buy-in from this fan base into this team as I've seen for well over a decade.
Absolutely. Absolutely right.
And it was so loud. And to NFL Network's credit, it sounded so good on the television.
It was an awesome atmosphere. Everybody was there. Stand up and give yourself a little bit of a Barry Horowitz on this one because you guys made it tough. You didn't make it easy on them, meaning the Niners.
Yeah, we like to goof on you and troll with you from time to time, but kudos to last night.
Robert and Laverne, we will get to your phone call. Mike Keith's going to join us after the break, too. We'll get to Robert's call, then we'll bring in Navat. That's all next. You won't want to miss it. Mike Keith's thoughts coming off a huge win for this team. We'll even address some of the things that the callers have said. It's JMart Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, next time you're at home, if you're noticing things that you wouldn't know that they are foundation issues, let me tell you some things that maybe you have noticed and they could be foundation issues. Basement wall bowing, doors and windows sticking, cracks in your bricks, chimney leaning, drywall separating, concrete that's clearly not level. All of these things, signs of possible foundation issues. So you need to call my pals at United Structural Systems. USS has served Middle Tennessee for over 25 years. Integrity and reputation off the charts. A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and locally owned. They've been in our community for a long time doing great work. But it means that they customize this solution for you. Not just you as a classification of, well, you have this kind of home, this is probably your problem because they're too big. No. USS comes out, customizes a solution for each homeowner depending on your specific needs. How they work is they give you a detailed free estimate before you ever have to make any kind of a decision, and then you don't pay a dime until the work's done. You're not paying along the way part. No, the job has to be done. They have to make sure you're satisfied with it before you have to pay. And that makes it so much easier when you've seen the quality and you've seen the finished product. Over 20,000 satisfied customers can tell you you can feel really good about calling United Structural Systems. Here's how you do it. 615-227-2275. That's 227-2275 or online at ussTN.com. United Structural Systems.
Garoppolo takes the snap, looking, firing, and it's intercepted! Intercepted by Jackrabbit Jenkins! Jackrabbit! His first pick is a Titan!
Low-key one of my favorite Coach Mac lines ever right there. Jackrabbit! Let's go to Robert and Laverne before we get to the vibe. Robert, what's up, buddy?
I think the key to the game last night was the defense just totally shut Kittle down and took him completely out of the game, and he was never a factor in the game last night. And kudos to the defense for getting a couple of sacks and getting a couple of interceptions and stuff. And I think that was the key, was how they just took Kittle completely out of the game.
Look, there's no question. And he had been dominant since getting healthy. And he was going to be a problem last night. And I do think the Titans defense did a very nice job kind of mixing up how he was covered and making it hard on him. And then Garoppolo looks to him a lot. And I don't know that worked out very well for Garoppolo. We go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Thanks to Farm Bureau Health Plan, who've been protecting Tennesseans since 1947. Voice of the Tennessee Titans, Mike Keith, on with us. Mike, Merry Christmas. An early Christmas present certainly last night for Titans fans.
I would agree. Great win. Another great moment in Nissan Stadium. Seems like we've had so many of them over the years, and we say, oh, what about a top 10 list? And what about – I don't know. I mean, I don't know where they all go now, but I know that was a spectacular event at Nissan Stadium that if you were there, you felt something very, very special. Two good teams going at it, and the Titans found a way to win.
So I thought this in the moment, and I tweeted it out this morning and then mentioned it off the top, Mike. The Jackrabbit interception. As many, negative things as has been said at times about him this season, I'm not sure there was a more important play this year that didn't decide a game, like a Josh Allen fourth down stop or something like that, than that. Because 14-0, I'm not sure we're having the same conversation because the momentum just stopped. Like they seem to be chewing up the field on Tennessee. And then he stepped in front of Kittle, made that play, and then it became game on. Then you're looking up, it's 10-0 at the half instead of what could have been. I mean, if he hits a use check, you could be in a hole that you're not going to be able to dig out of. So I can't – you tell me. That Jackrabbit play has to be one of the most important plays, not just of the game, but maybe of the season for the Titans.
Could be. It's certainly one of the most important plays of the game. I mean, there's just no question about it because if it's 14-0, San Francisco is going to win the game because they've got control. The Titans haven't stopped them. That place is dead. It is deader than a doornail at that point. And because of just the momentum and the fact that the Titans have had problems on offense, what it did, not only in stemming the tide, but it gave the Titans a chance to get the offense straight. And listen, they get in and they practice on, I forget what day it was, Tuesday. They got Roger Saffold. Mm-hmm. Okay, you got Roger Saffold and Kendall Lamb. That's going to be the left side of your offensive line. And then guess what? Roger Saffold can't go. And you're like, okay, well, we'll put Brewer back in. Okay, we'll make it. We got Lamb and Brewer. And then you ain't got Lamb. And so then you've got Radens in there, having to take over at left tackle, and you're working the receivers back in. And, quite frankly, Coach Mack said it. I think he said it on the air, but he certainly said it off the air. He said, we can't block them. So you had to figure out what you could do, and you had to let guys get comfortable. And, Ryan Tannehill had to get going a little bit, and A.J. Brown had to get going a little bit. My point is, if you go down 14-0, you don't have that time. Suddenly you're panicked. At 10-0, you're okay. It's exactly like what the Steelers had happen on Sunday against the Titans, ironically. They were only down 10-0, or they were only down 10 points at halftime, so they're okay. That's where I think that interception was such a big deal.
Field Yates tweeted out, how good was A.J. Brown? He accounted for 69.4% of the Titans' receiving yards, the most by any NFL player in a game this season, had 8 catches on third down, the most by any player since at least 1978, which is the year I was born, 43 years ago. Answer the question because we already know the answer. Mike, how good was A.J. Brown last night?
Well, he wasn't just good. He was the phenomenal A.J. Brown. I mean, that's
well done, Mike.
That's what he was all about, because this was a performance in prime time in the key moments on what A.J. called third down, the money down. That's a star. That's what a star does. That's not what a player does. That's what a star does. And in the big moments, the stars must come through. And that's what he did. That was phenomenal. And that's exactly what the Titans needed. And let me take it a step further. Did you see Ryan Tannehill ripping the ball again?
Yep.
Did you see him dropping back and throwing it beyond, 10, 15 years? I mean, he was ripping it. The run he made on the last drive, that was Ryan Tannehill. Suddenly he had help. Suddenly he's able to play his game again. Suddenly all of these things, and we've said them over and over and over again, Jason, and I know your listeners were sick of hearing the injuries, but it was real. It was totally real. And when you see a star back in there in this way, and the way he can go help your quarterback, and then you're ripping two throws to Nick Westbrook-Akina on third down and longs, but Westbrook-Akina is playing his role now. He's not having to play the A.J. Brown role. He's playing his role. And then you make a great throw to Ferkser, who picks up a big gain. And so suddenly the parts all start to fit again. And that's the key of having a one. And the Titans had a one last night in the phenomenal A.J. Brown.
Yeah, and look, you see this in NBA rosters a lot. Like a guy will go down, and a dude that's been a 2 all of a sudden has to become a 1, and he's not meant to be a 1. He's meant to be a great 2. And what you said about Westbrook-Akina and Ferkser, the Ferkser play last night, that's the Ferkser we got used to for years.
Right.
He wasn't out there all the time, but he would show up in key moments and make a play. You have AJ, now Nick Westbrook-Akina is against, not the top DB on the field. He's got more room to operate. It just makes everything easier because guys are where they should be. There's no Peter principle in action out there.
That's right. I mean, you said it better than I did. You're playing with your team again. And this is why I'm excited, because you saw Bud Dupree on defense. You saw Zach Cunningham on defense. You continue to see Jeff show up and Danico Autry show up. And now AJ's back. And, Julio Jones out there. He didn't do a lot last night, but he's on the field, and so they have to be concerned with him. You've got a few things starting to happen, and then after this mini bye, you would figure you're going to get Saffold back in the offensive line. Don't know Lawan's status, but we'll wait and see. Maybe the rest will get him back as well. And suddenly you look like your team at the start of the year, don't you?
Yeah.
You begin to say, okay, now wait just a minute. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself because, you don't know. But there's some excitement in that. The second half last night looked like the team we thought we would see all year. All year. We knew it would take the defense a while to come together, and they certainly have. And then the offense, that was the offense of the last 2 years in the second half. 20 points, going and getting it at the end of the game. So you're like, okay, here we go. Let's see. Maybe all this has happened for a reason, and maybe it's all going to come together, over the next few weeks. We'll see. But last night, the second half was so exciting for so many different reasons. How they did it, how they had to do it, how they came through, all of those things factor in for me.
So you mentioned Lawan there, and we talked about the offensive line a little bit. Last night, those guys held up better than I think a lot of people could have anticipated or expected. It's not that it was totally clean, and there were times where it felt like, oh, boy, I got to look away. This might be dangerous. But you had Dylan Radins, who we've barely gotten to see, who we're not even sure can play at this stage, playing left tackle last night. And honestly, the thing you would anticipate a rookie doing is getting penalties. and that's what he did. But in terms of sticking out like a sore thumb, Mike, he didn't. Like I felt pretty good about watching Dylan Radins last night. I don't know about you.
Well, Dylan has talent. Dylan's going to start for us at some point. I mean, Dylan is a guy with a lot of ability, and to a certain extent, Mike Vrabel said this to me not long ago. He said he's been the victim of the injuries in that they haven't been able to practice the same way they normally do during the course of the season. You know, they've had to take a lot of practices because of the injuries and go to walkthroughs. For a young lineman, that's a bad thing. Walkthroughs don't help a young lineman improve, but he's really worked hard. They felt very good about him behind the scenes in terms of how seriously he takes everything. The fact that he missed all of football last year with COVID was a big factor for him. You know, it kind of put him behind the eight ball. The fact that he sort of bounced between guard and tackle, I think, has been something that's been a little different for him as well. But they felt like from physical standpoint and from taking the responsibility and from understanding of what to do, that he was going to get there. And I think he showed all of that last night. This can really be big for him, Jason, because he can walk out of that last night and say, hey, I can absolutely do this. And that can be next steps for Dylan Radins to continue to move forward. I don't know what he plays, you know, in the future. I don't know if he's a guard or a tackle or left or right. I don't have any idea. But that guy and how that guy played last night, that's how an NFL offensive lineman plays.
2 games into the Zach Cunningham experiment. And that looks like a steal, does it not?
Yeah. I mean, between he and Bud Dupree coming back at this point, it's like you made the deadline trade in baseball, right? I mean, so Bud's this guy, and you know, Bud just can't get a break early in the year, but nobody's down on Bud because he's working his tail off. He plays his tail off. He made a big play at the end of the Indianapolis game, and now he's come back, and you know, he has shown up twice this week in big moments, multiple times as a matter of fact. And then Cunningham is just, you know, his play when they got to the 20-yard line and setting them up on the 3rd and 11 on the third series of the ball game by running down the ball carrier, and then the penalty came next, and you know, after the penalty came, they ended up having to kick a field goal. Those are the types of plays he can make. When he gets there, you are going to the ground. That's it, period. And they're able to do several things with him. They're able to do things with other people because of him. I know we were all excited to get him, and I think he's excited to be part of this team. It's kind of given him a new lease on life. It's a nice addition, no question.
You know, the word snub gets thrown out a lot, and it becomes easy for content, and it was talked about a lot because of the Pro Bowl. Do you think Jeff Simmons is a legit? That dude got snubbed. Are you disappointed that the season wasn't rewarded with a Pro Bowl nod?
Yeah. I mean, how do you not consider Jeffrey Simmons one of the 4 or 5 best defensive tackles in the game? Did you see him drive the guard back into the backfield 6 yards on multiple occasions again last night? And, you know, he makes everybody better because he handles so many things on his own. He runs down plays. He can rush the passer. Jeffrey Simmons is as good as there is. And I know Aaron Donald is the best, and he should be considered the best. But when you start the next part of the conversation, if Jeff's not there, who is? You know, I mean, I wouldn't trade him for anybody. And for what he means to our ball club and our organization at this point, he is such a huge part of what the Tennessee Titans are doing right now. You know, I mean, the bottom line is he's been with us 3 seasons, and counting playoffs, we've had double digit wins in every year. He's a winner. He's not just a stat grabber. He's a winner. And, you know, for my money, if Jeff Simmons is not in the Pro Bowl, you shouldn't have a Pro Bowl.
I'm with you. Randy Bullock, he makes the game winner. He makes both of his field goal attempts last night. He's missed a few this year, but generally speaking, inside 45, he's been fantastic, which is, Ramon knew him back in Pittsburgh. He said, look, inside of 45, we felt like he was pretty automatic. But what does it say that it feels like Titans fans can have a level of confidence this deep into the season in their place kicker?
Big. I mean, I chuckle because I've been here the last 2 years like you, when we made 61% of our kicks, which is really not good. The fact that he's 24 of 28, that's above the league average.
Yeah.
I mean, all we were looking for was just, hey, man, get us somebody who can get us to 80, 85% and just put us in the conversation with the rest of the, with the rest of the league. And he's done beyond that, I think, because he's made 3 game winners. If you go back and watch the kick last night, he drilled it. He absolutely smoked that ball. Not only did it end up going right down the middle from the angle that he was at, but it hit well up on the net, so it would have been good from a lot further. I think the description we used is he didn't just pull out the driver. He hit the driver, Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, he just cracked it. A guy with the kind of confidence to take a swing at it like that to win the game, and the fact that Vrabel totally played for that at that moment, knowing – because I thought on third down, I thought, okay, do you think about throwing here? Do you think about, throwing a flat pass and trying to get closer? Because it's going to be a 44-yard field goal, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not a chip shot. And that would not have been the smart play because you potentially, if you miss the field goal especially, you're leaving them with a lot of time on the other side. I mean, you've got to play the percentages, wind it down to 9 seconds, take the timeout, and try to win the game. But it's not a gimme. And he drilled it. I think the confidence they have in him and the confidence that he has in himself is a big deal right now for this team. Special teams between the returns, Brett Kern kind of getting back on track a little bit last night. He hit some outstanding punts. The coverage teams, that's an area that you feel pretty good about overall, starting with your kicker as the Titans head into the playoffs.
Mike, you're a very measured man, and so asking this question, I just feel like your response is going to be calming to a lot of Titans fans when they hear and when they see Jonathan Taylor MVP talking, and you're hearing it a lot right now with him pretty much being the runner-up in most people's eyes behind Aaron Rodgers. But when you hear Jonathan Taylor MVP, how does that feel to you?
The same way when I hear that John Harbaugh ought to be coach of the year because the Ravens have had a bunch of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, seriously? I mean, listen, he's a really good player, and I think he should be part of the conversation. I think he's a fabulous back, and he should be part of the conversation. I don't get as upset about it as some people do. But the bottom line, I think Tom Brady's going to be the MVP. I think when it's all said and done, if it's not Tom Brady, it's Aaron Rodgers. That's just how the league works right now. It's not as much a reflection of Jonathan Taylor and, well, the only reason we're having this conversation is Derrick Henry got hurt, which I know is how a lot of Titans fans feel. But for me, it's more about the fact that if you're going to have a conversation with a running back, he's got to be doing something that's just not being done. We had a running back on pace to do something that was not being done.
Right.
And Taylor's having a really good year for a running back, but I don't think he's having that kind of year.
Would it be fair to say that it's hard to say this as a Titans fan, but if Jonathan Taylor were to somehow win it, and I agree with you, I think it'll be Aaron Rodgers, maybe, and Brady will be in the conversation as well, but if it were, wouldn't you have to say it was Derrick Henry that paved the way by doing what he did last year, and then unfortunately he got hurt, and so he doesn't end up reaping the benefits of it. But if he doesn't do that, I think he put the running back position back on the map a little bit with what he did last year and what he was on pace to do this year. And now Jonathan Taylor is the other guy, but he's the best that's left, and as a result, he's getting a lot of flowers that Derrick Henry kind of paved the way for.
Oh yeah, I think that's right, and I get it. And listen, I like him a lot. I think he's a really really good player. He's a Pro Bowl, All Pro caliber player who's got a chance to have an absolutely fabulous career, and he can do a lot of things. But what Derek was doing is Derek was on pace to have the best 3 years in the history of the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And Derek was going to rush for 2,000 yards again. And Derek was on his way to doing something and leaving us with a conversation that we've never had before, and that has really not been had in many places. In Denver, they had it with Terrell Davis, and probably could have had it around Eric Dickerson at some points when he was with the Rams. But this was going to be, we were on pace to do things. And we spent a lot of time. I spent a whole day doing research about where Henry was going, because we had to start being prepared for that conversation, because it was happening, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you talk about the loss of Derrick Henry and you consider the historical perspective of where he was going, it's really sobering towards how much it hurt this football team when it happened. And nobody denied it was big. The coach didn't deny it. The general manager didn't deny it. Nobody said, well, this is one injury, we move on. I mean, this is Derrick Henry hitting home runs at a pace that nobody had ever hit home runs before as a running back. And, Taylor's doing great, but the consistency of Derrick Henry over a 3-year period had been historic.
So we're talking to a GOAT candidate, about the MVP. Last night was Coach Mac's 100th game on Titans radio. And I remember when I first met him, I didn't know a whole lot about him because I didn't grow up in this area. And I didn't know what it was going to be like. I knew it was going to sound different. And then I remember hearing him, and just what a wonderful guy and what a pro. And I don't care how long you go, quite frankly. It's Christmas Eve, and this is going to be a gift to the listeners. 100 games in, what could you possibly say about Coach Mac and what he has meant to Titans radio and what he's meant to this community over this last stretch, if not much longer?
Well, here's what's funny, Jason, is the majority of fans didn't know him when he was an assistant coach here, because he was the linebacker coach, mm-hmm. and then his final year he was the assistant head coach. And so they didn't know all of this that we knew. I got to spend time with him in the lunchroom. I heard the stories. I saw all of that. And so when we were in a position that we were looking for somebody for that role, we called him, just knowing his personality. And I had been told that he was moving back to Nashville because he was leaving the Rams, and I'd been told that. And we called him and said, hey, Coach, we hear you're moving back here. He's like, nope, not moving back. Staying in Malibu. Not going to happen. It's like, oh, no. We've gotten really bad intel. And so the conversation was going to be, well, thanks a lot, Coach. We'll talk to you. And he's like, well, why are you calling? And so the explanation was given that we're calling because, we're looking to do this. And he goes, oh, I'll do that. And he got in his truck and drove across the country and arrived 3 days, before we did our first preseason game. And it was obvious at the end of that first preseason that he was as natural as anybody who's ever done it. There's a lot of talk about Tony Romo, and there should. The guy did the game on TV last night, Greg Olson. I think it's fantastic.
Agreed.
There are certain people who are naturals, and he is an absolute natural at this position from the standpoint that he gives every listener, no matter your interest in football, he gives you something different, and he entertains you. And listen, what we're doing is fun. It should sound like it's fun. It should be fun for the listener, because there are so many serious things in life that, golly, I mean, coming to the end of the year, I'm sure everybody listening's dealt with about 5 things that have, knocked you to your knees at some point. And this has got to be a good time. And for you to make the effort to listen to the radio, it's got to be about a good time. because that's where it starts and ends. This is not a class. This is not a technical thing. It's, do you want to listen to somebody because they make you enjoy the game? He makes us enjoy it sitting there with him. You know, we couldn't get him to finish the broadcast last night because he was too busy waving to the fans after the game was over. I mean, that's him. That's what he does. And the honesty and his ability to translate his personality and his experiences and his incredible intellect, it's a rare gift. And he has taken Titans radio and made it very much his own. And that's great. It's great for our listeners and our fans.
Mike, it was fun to hear you calling Titans offense again last night. It's just you
Right.
sounded like Ryan Tannehill looked in the second half.
Well, I grew to like offense over the last 2 years. I had no idea how much I liked offense until Ryan Tannehill became the quarterback and they started scoring 30 points a game. I'm like, man, this is great. Teams do this? Because even some of our good teams didn't do this. And, I mean, if they start ripping again and they take care of the ball and they keep playing defense and special teams like this, they got a chance. I mean, let's face it, they got a chance. And I don't think, I'm knocking on wood, I don't think they got anybody hurt last night.
Which is a shock, especially considering the pass rush.
But Merry Christmas there. Naquan Jones went out, but he came back in, and he's playing really well for us right now. So, knock on wood. And DeLauro played, so we've now played 88 guys. We're up to 88 guys.
That is nuts. Let's get to 88 miles per hour. Go back to the future. Mike, Merry Christmas, brother. We appreciate it. You and the family, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy watching other teams play, and we will catch up with you after the holidays.
Merry Christmas to everyone, and tighten up, everybody.
Indeed. That is voice of the Tennessee Titans, the one and only Mike Keith. Yeah, we're late. It's Christmas Eve. We're probably going to come back and go immediately to break. It is a reaction Friday on Christmas Eve. So go ahead and line up the calls, and we'll start taking them in the fourth hour. 615-737-1045. How are you feeling after last night? Let me get that out again. 615-737-1045. Back in a moment. JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
That was an amazing forward over rooster then, right in the middle of the road.
Say that again?
Forward over rooster. You ever seen a rooster run over by a Ford pickup in the middle of the road?
I can't say that I have.
Well, now you have. That's what it looks like.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays from everybody here at 104.5 The Zone to you and yours. This is going to be abrupt because we kept Mike Keith for a long time. Had to ask him about Dave McGinnis. 100 games with Titans radio. Last night was the 100th, and it was a good one because of how it ended. Randy Bullock making the kick. Titans win, double-digit wins, 10-5, still a shot at that number 1 seed. Now what you need to do is start hoping to see Kansas City drop some games and New England just give you that lane to open it up. But a big-time win last night. Huge win, as a matter of fact. I see Craig on the line. We'll get to your phone call. Moan is not here. Hopefully everything's going to turn out well today. Had a member of his family test positive for COVID, so just out of a abundance of caution, we said, go enjoy the Christmas holidays a little bit early. But he is hanging out in the chat. And a lot of you are hanging out in the chat this morning. We greatly appreciate that. Still got an hour to go here on the program. Diedrich Bader's 55. Shafe. Who is Diedrich Bader?
Hey, Bader.
That's right.
Yep. I don't have to say anything else.
Drew Carey Show, of course, and Office Space. Yep. Ryan Seacrest is 47. I even think Moan would have known that.
Ubiquitous when it comes to Ryan Seacrest, the modern-day Dick Clark.
Second wealthiest guy in radio. Behind Howard Stern.
That sounds right. Yeah, could be.
Ricky Martin's 50.
Living La Vida Loca.
Boy, we're just rolling right now. This is the way it's supposed to be. This is like Mike Keith calling offense last night. Yeah. This is offense right here. AJ Brown's making plays. Stephanie Meyer is 48.
Author of, I believe, is it the Twilight series?
Correct.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Mm-hmm. Michael Raymond James. This one you won't know.
I know who Raymond James is. The stadium's named after Raymond James in Tampa Bay. Michael Raymond James, I don't know.
Michael Raymond James has done a lot of stuff. He's in Once Upon a Time, True Blood. But the reason I mentioned this one on the way out here is because if you're looking for a binge, one of the great series of the last 15 years on TV had a horrible name, only made it one season on FX. Terriers.
That was a good show.
Michael Raymond James
good show.
was one of the two leads in that show.
Yeah.
Had they called it what they originally planned to call it, which was Beach Cops, that thing would still be on the air. They called it Terriers, and for whatever reason it didn't. I'm telling you, put it on the list. Go watch it. You will be glad you did. The fourth hour of the show is coming up next. We'll lead off with Craig's phone call and plenty of time for you at 615-737-1045. Titans victory gives you an early Christmas present. It's JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Due to overwhelming response, Genesis Diamond's amazing holiday finance offer has been extended through today. But it was going to end 2 weeks ago. So 5 years, 0 interest, any holiday purchase. That's anything Genesis sells. And they've got everything that you could possibly want. This is how you can splurge this holiday season. $6,000 pair of diamond stud earrings just comes out to $100 a month. Nothing down. You can even include the sales tax. They've got the most popular gifts. Rings, bands, earrings, bracelets, pendants, pearls, spectacular selection of designer jewelry you're not going to find anywhere else. Tacori, Viraggio, Kirk Cara, all of the designers that you want. Unique, one-of-a-kind, fashion-forward with non-commissioned diamond experts that just want to help you pick out that headliner gift. Get the guaranteed best Genesis price, pay nothing down, and then spread your payments over 5 whole years. Guys, if you've waited for a long time, today's the last day. I don't know if you know this, so Christmas is tomorrow. How about 5 years, no interest? $5,000 diamond tennis bracelet costs you $85 a month. Make the decision today. Get in there. It ends today. Make it an unforgettable Christmas for the one you love with help from Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs on approved credit. See store for details.
Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer, powered by a superb performance from the phenomenal A.J. Brown in his first game back from injured reserve. Tennessee Titans rallied from a 10-0 first-half deficit to defeat the San Francisco 49ers 20-17 on Thursday Night Football in front of a raucous crowd at Nissan Stadium. Arthur won 11 catches for 145 yards and this touchdown.
Tannehill in the gun has Foreman on his left hip. Tannehill drops. Pressure coming. He fires downfield. Touchdown! Titans! Arthur won! Brown, welcome home!
That score gave the Titans a 17-10 lead. The Niners came right back on a 95-yard touchdown drive, but Randy Bullock, Titans legend, nailed the game-winning 44-yard field goal with 9 seconds remaining to lift the Titans to victory. With the win, Tennessee, now 10-5 on the season, can clinch the AFC South with an Indianapolis Colts loss. The Colts are at Arizona tomorrow, Christmas night, 7:15 kickoff. Cleveland's at Green Bay at 3:30. You can hear both games right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What a game! What an atmosphere! And what a lovely Christmas it will be! If you love the two-tone blue. The Titans, for the 6th time in the last 2 years, trail at halftime and yet come back to win. Final score, Tennessee 20, San Francisco 17. As the Titans get it done again.
Titans win it. They're 10-5. I guess they haven't completely wrapped up the division yet.
Almost.
But all they basically need to do is get one more, right?
Win one more.
And you do have the Texans as one of those two games.
And they
even if you don't want to look at the Dolphins.
And they still have plenty to play for because that number 1 seed is still a possibility.
It definitely is. A.J. Brown came back, 11 catches, 145 yards, a touchdown. If you had him in fantasy, you put up 31.5 last night.
Historic night last night.
Yeah, here's how good it was. Field Yates of ESPN. He accounted for 69.4% of the Titans' receiving yards, the most by any NFL player in a game this season with a minimum of 200 total team yards. Had 8 catches on third down. That sounds really good, and it is. How good? That's the most by any player in the NFL since at least 1978. That's 43 years. How do I know that? Because I'm 43. Very old, but that shows how long it's been since somebody was that effective. Coming back off injury, he wanted to play, and he got to play. Had as many catches as he wears on his jersey. Stellar stuff from A.J. Brown in a night where you could just see the look on Ryan Tannehill's face in the second half specifically. All of a sudden, it was fun again to be Ryan Tannehill.
Joy. It was joy on his face.
It was. And when that dude's feeling it, look out.
Well, and A.J. looked a little off to start, and they even mentioned it on the broadcast again. Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olsen, top notch.
They're the best, man.
Those
they're
guys
unbelievable.
are outstanding.
Yeah.
I like how both CBS and for Fox/NFL Network, the number 2s could be number 1s anywhere
and
else.
Olsen literally is like a year in.
He's phenomenal.
I love listening to him. You can tell he loves football. He can give you a different perspective because it's not the quarterback that's usually in the booth. With no disrespect to the quarterbacks that do it, because a lot of them are really good. But Olsen's an absolute natural, and Burkhardt is just a rock-solid play-by-play guy
Classic
with a voice
announcer.
that you could listen to.
Yes. Classic sound.
Yes. AJ is a classic receiver.
Phenomenal. That's what Mike Keith called him. Phenomenal.
That's such a great line. And Mike, I even said, well done, and he didn't even blink and say, well, thank you. But I know what he knew he was doing. He used to listen to Squared Circle Radio. That dude's a wrestling fan.
Phenomenal.
Called him the
Brown.
phenomenal A.J. Brown. Well done, Mike Keith. Well done, Coach Mack. Also 100 games of Titans Radio. And that was a fun 100th for him. Randy Bullock makes the kick. He boomed it, but boy, I'll tell you, it was trending just a little bit. I was like, oh my goodness, is he about to miss this?
There's a little bit of a pucker factor to that, but notice which hash they put him on.
That's right.
And he cut it in the other direction.
Yep.
Good coaching, good execution.
It was. It absolutely was. And the Titans with a huge win. And I will say this, and then we'll get to Craig's call and we can get to yours at 615-737-1045. We were talking about Jimmy G earlier and how I felt like A.J. Brown reminded people who he was last night, and so did Jimmy G. The reason the Niners didn't win the Super Bowl is because one team had Patrick Mahomes, the other one had Jimmy Garoppolo. And last night, one team had Tannehill, and the other one had Jimmy Garoppolo. And certainly there were other factors, and there were other factors in the other one too. But Garoppolo, this is just kind of what I anticipate him doing too often. And I bet it's getting annoying for Kyle Shanahan. The question that I have is, Trey Lance, that's a work in progress. That's a dude that had opted out. They didn't play their season. A lot to like, but he was super raw, and he was coming from a smaller school. So how long is it going to take? We know this with Dylan Radins, who played with him. So I just wonder if the Niners had gone with Mac Jones, is he the one that's starting that game last night and not Jimmy Garoppolo? There's a lot that's going to be determined about this rookie class. Trevor, we got to see what that looks like with a new coach and maybe some new talent. Zach Wilson, they've already turned on Zach Wilson in New York. But if you look at Trey Lance and Mac Jones, had they gone with Mac Jones, I bet you saw him last night and not Jimmy Garoppolo. You see it in New England. It might be a low ceiling right now, but he's not throwing those interceptions. The Jackrabbit made a great play, but Jimmy G stared George Kittle down on top of that. The second one the hooker picked off, he was in the right spot, but that was a terrible throw.
Well, and the Rashaan Evans one.
And that was even worse.
Yeah. And here's the thing about it, though, before we go to the phone, is that touchdown throw where they tied it up, notice he corrected himself because he didn't stare down the receiver. He was looking off to the left, then at the last moment fired it and looked at the guy that was open over. It was a beautiful play by him.
Yeah.
But that's the issue is, again, good
Jekyll and
Jimmy,
Hyde.
bad Jimmy.
Yeah, and that's Carson Wentz with Indy. Even more volatile, though, I think, maybe than Garoppolo is. And there was one play where Ayuk had a third down. They threw it short. I didn't like that play call at all, but the throw was off too. Like Ayuk had no chance for Yak, even though that's a Yak team, because he had to dive just to make the play. Couldn't even get to the ball. And even if he had, they'd have been well short of the first down and still ended up having to get rid of the ball. Let's go to Craig in Bowling Green next on the line. Craig, what's up?
Hey, first off, congrats to Coach Mack, a terrific source of knowledge for the Titans fans, man. He is great. Hey, there's one sequence in the game that I want to make sure that doesn't get overlooked as a huge part of this win, and that's the Titans tie it up 10-10. San Francisco gets the ball. They're moving. They decide not to go for the field goal. 4th and 1, the crowd's into it. False start. Now it's 4th and 6. Garoppolo does exactly what you said. He overthrows the guy. Titans get the ball. That could have been a huge momentum changer, taking the air out of the Titans at that point in time if San Francisco goes down and scores.
Yeah, now, look, that's absolutely true. That was a gigantic penalty. The worst throw that Garoppolo made last night was the one to Juszczyk.
Oh,
that's a walk-in touchdown.
You know what it reminded me of?
Reminded you of the Chester Rogers play. That's one of the things that reminded me of the Emmanuel Sanders play, too.
Of the Emmanuel Sanders play.
Meaning in the Super Bowl, by the way, the Emmanuel Sanders when he was with the Niners.
Because if he hits Sanders on that play, the 49ers win the Super Bowl. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
I mean, all that throw has to do is not be too high.
And look, all quarterbacks have missed open receivers downfield. Everyone's done it. Tannehill's done it. Everyone's done it. That was egregious.
You had Garoppolo overthrow a touchdown and throw an interception in the end zone, and those plays were killers. Then he tried to throw one to Rashaan and then did throw one to Amani Hooker. Again, I think the play by Jackrabbit, with as many things as you can deservedly say he has not done this year, that's as important a play outside of a game-winning situation that the Tennessee Titans have had all year, and he deserves a ton of credit for stepping in front of Kittle, baiting Garoppolo, and letting him stare down Kittle and then stepping in front of him. And Kittle, as strong as he is, could knock that ball free and save that thing. They ended up coming up with no points when they were dominating the game. The offense was chewing up the field. Had me start wondering about the defense in terms of, well, are they battle-tested enough because they haven't seen an offense that has this many dudes, like dangerous guys. They've seen a lot of teams they were able to take advantage of. Not that they're frauds, just that this may take a minute for them to actually catch up to this. And then when Garoppolo was unable to finish that drive, that changed the momentum of the entire football game. When you get to 10-0 at the half and you feel like that could have been a 21, 24-0, 24-3 kind of game, that's right where Vrabel needs it to be. All they had to do was come out because they knew they were getting the ball after the halftime deal, come out and just do something on offense. And then it was game on. And that's what it was. And I how many times did I text you guys in the second half and say that I told you, but then said the Titans are going to win this game? At least 5 or 6 times.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And as soon as the field goal happened, I was even more sure of it. But it was a great win no matter what. We're going to get to break, and then we'll get Justin's phone call and more. It is a reaction Friday on Christmas Eve. It is JMart and Ramon. 615-737-1045. Go ahead and line them up. We'll knock them down after the break. It is here on The Zone.
We're not dead yet. We'll come back and we'll play. I guess the Dolphins next, right? That's who we got in 10 days. This weekend's going to feel really good. I'm happy that our players can rest and recover after getting a victory.
Huge win, and yeah, you get to sit back now and hopefully just get healthy. And Mike, he said, knock on wood, and obviously you never know, but it did look like you got out unscathed last night from an injury standpoint.
Talk about Merry Christmas.
Seriously, especially with the offensive line knowing that their pass rush was going to be what it was. And again, the rookie, Dylan Radins, was it flawless? By no means. But nobody was anticipating that, nor would it have been fair to expect anything like that. But he didn't stick out like a sore thumb. He committed penalties, which is exactly what you'd expect a rookie to do.
Committed 2, I think.
Yeah.
Had the chop block and a false start.
He had the total annihilation. He was part of the total annihilation with the
chop
eliminators.
Block, yes.
I don't know if he was Saturn or John Cronus, but he was definitely one of them. Somebody said this. You notice Bosa moved to the other side and went after Quessenberry and not Radins late in the game.
He did.
Look, 75, good on him. Good for him because he's taken a lot this year.
But I think they were also giving him more help to that side, too, so that was also why Bosa would flip to the other side.
Yeah, they would. So I just think
because that's always a matchup game.
Could have been.
Yeah.
It could have been so much more.
Jeff Shorts put it perfectly. It was a passing grade.
That's all. I think that's all it needed to be.
Yeah, that's all it needed to be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. 615-737-1045. It is JMart and Ramon, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. Merry Christmas to all of them over there. They've been a wonderful sponsor since the beginning of this show. All4seasonsgarages.com. Step up your garage. Do something for your family. That could be a nice Christmas gift. Make sure you're good to go. They have over 150 years combined experience in residential and commercial. Again, all4seasonsgarages.com. Ramon is out. We gave him the early holiday. Hopefully everything's going to be good there. Had somebody not directly in his household, but somebody he was around over the last couple of days that had a positive COVID test. So we're taking extra precautions here, and hopefully they're going to pull a bunch of negative tests, and all of them are going to be together for the holiday. Merry Christmas to him. Can't say enough about how blessed we are to have him as a part of not just this radio station, but a part of this show. And Schaefer and I definitely just having him as a part of our lives on a day-to-day basis. Couldn't be a better guy. Couldn't make it more fun to come to work than it does with him, and I'll tell him that to his face when we do the New Year's Eve show. Let's go back to the phones, 615-737-1045. Justin, as promised. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, man.
I just wanted to touch on a couple things. Did you guys notice that the field guys were slipping everywhere, specifically Fulton a couple times, and also, I wanted to touch on the importance of A.J. Brown to Ryan Tannehill, and what was the difference in the play calling from the first half to the second half? It seemed like we were getting in a lot of negative situations in first down, and then we come out in the second half, and that didn't happen so much. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Sure.
And I just want to shout out my dad, Alan Poindexter. Tighten up, boys.
Hey, all right. Merry Christmas to you, Justin. So the stat that just absolutely blew me away at halftime of this game. The Titans ran 7 first down plays in the first half. 1 total yard. 1. Remember in the second quarter, as the second quarter began, they had 12 yards of offense. It was not good. The first down calls were terrible, and some of the third down calls were flat out abysmal. In the second half, they did move a little faster, and we've had some people mention this in the chat. It did seem like they put more in 17's hands. He was making some checks. He was making some decisions, and then when they went a little hurry up, it started to work. I think that we were trending to a spot where we were going to spend 4 hours killing Todd Downing today.
Oh, that suggestion was made.
I mean, we that was the plan, it seemed like, at halftime.
And on social media, yikes.
Yeah. And deservedly so.
Yes.
Deservedly so. When you win, it covers up a lot of stuff, and then you end up kind of, talking about the good things. But the play calling in the first half did not put the Titans in position to succeed whatsoever, especially given the personnel we knew they had on the field on the offensive line against their pass rush. I don't know what they were doing, but it was not good. In the second half, as Tannehill got a little bit more comfortable, as A.J. got his sea legs back underneath him, as they certainly used him, but even finding Ferkser and finding Westbrook-Akina and the scramble play and all of that, it just seemed like Tannehill was really dialed in And I would give him a lot of the credit for what we saw in the second half.
Scootman says on Twitter, the difference between the first and second half, Downing checked his Twitter and saw that hashtag Fire Downing was trending.
That's petty. See the shirt on the Zone chat? One of Shafe and Moan's Christmas gifts from me. Just here for the violence. Those hopefully will maybe be available for you in the coming months as well.
That tweet.
Y'all petty as hell.
Pretty much. Phil in Clarksville's up next. Phil, go right ahead, brother.
Hey, good morning, guys. Love the show. Merry Christmas.
You too.
Hopefully the big Ragu's listening. Merry Christmas to him as well. Just wanted to come in and kind of play devil's advocate. Everybody's beating up Todd Downing pretty bad, and I'm a huge Ryan Tannehill supporter. But Todd Downing sends those plays in before the defense is seen. To me, last night, Tannehill made some bad mistakes in the first half. He's got to get out of that habit of throwing the ball to a player 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, which happened multiple times last night. Throw it at their feet, throw it away, but don't throw it to the guy when he's 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage and he's got 3 defenders on him. So I felt like Tannehill should have took some of the blame for that. I don't think he checked off well in the early part of the game, where obviously that changed later. But also we got to remember what Downing has been working with. My God, he's had practice squad players out there starting, and I can't imagine being in that guy's position this year. So just kind of wanted to show some support for him and wish you guys a Merry Christmas.
All right, you too, brother. I will say that it is fair to say that he's definitely had his hands tied behind his back over the last handful of weeks. Just the same thing you can say about Tannehill. You can also say a little bit about Todd Downing, no question. He's an offensive coordinator that was running with 2s and 3s, playing 1s, and, guys running the football that nobody thought were going to be running the football for the Titans this year. So that is accurate. At the same time, I do think that a lot of the criticism on him is legit and deserved.
And with Ryan Tannehill, one of his issues is holding on to the ball too long. That is something that goes back to Miami. He's had that problem here. We saw that last night when it comes to sacks. He's looking to make the play. Now, one of his biggest plays was when he used his feet, and he ran because he's a very good quarterback in terms of running the football. And I don't think we've seen that enough this year in terms of Tannehill running the ball.
Correct. And the scramble play felt like the Tannehill that we saw you'd see flashes of here and there last season when they most needed it. And that play last night, the Jackrabbit play was the biggest play in the game, but that was probably a close second. That was a huge
Set
play.
you up to win the game.
It did. Roger in Nashville is up next. Roger, what's up?
Yes, I'm pretty much eating crow here this morning, boys.
That's all right.
I picked the 49ers along with most of the ESPN analysts, NFL analysts I've seen picking San Francisco. So they're all eating crow too. And go Titans, all I can tell you. And if we get Henry back for the playoffs, look out, buddy. That's all I got.
Fair enough.
That's the Christmas present that everyone's waiting for in January.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's not a dumb pick when you look at what the 49ers did to start the game. The 49ers took the air out of that stadium the first drive of that game.
The first drive, I literally sent this. I sent it to you guys and I sent it to Jeff. I was like, I had not thought about this, but let's think about the offenses that this Titans defense has seen since Derrick Henry went out. They saw the Rams 5 days later. But after that, they saw the Saints with Trevor Siemian, no Alvin Kamara, of course, no Michael Thomas, a very depleted offense. They saw the New England Patriots with a rookie quarterback. They saw the Houston Texans. They then saw Urban in his very last game. And then they saw whatever the Pittsburgh offense is, which is atrocious is what it is.
Which is not much.
That's not to say that the defense isn't good. It's to say that they had not necessarily been tested. And so it might take them a little while to get up to speed against Debo and Ayuk and even Jeff Wilson. Like, they have a lot of talented skill players and a solid offensive line, rock solid offensive line. And Garoppolo had been not turning the ball over a whole lot. I didn't believe in him. He was a weak point of that offense, but That was a skilled offense. And I think that it was more balanced than the Titans defense had been used to seeing. But once they did catch up, they improved as the game went along. And in the second half, they just let Jimmy Garoppolo find a way to give them the football or to punt the football away. Like, the defense deserves a ton of credit for the way that they played, especially as the game went along. They got stronger. Now, there were some moments where, they couldn't get off the field here and there, and Rashawn dropped an interception, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. But the defensive way they played in the second half, if they play that way in the playoffs, they're going to be fine.
49ers are going to look at that game as one they think got away. And a poll question's already up through Buck Rising's show. Did the 49ers choke or did the Titans win the game?
And I think as usual, it's both.
It's a little of both.
It's not fair to...
Niners didn't choke, but they coughed a little bit.
I mean, they had the lead, but we knew their secondary was a weak point. They didn't choke. A.J. Brown annihilated them.
The phenomenal A.J.
The phenomenal, which just chef's kiss to Mike Keith for that. 615-737-1045. So the Colts play the Cardinals on Saturday. A lot of people think they're going to win the game because the Cardinals are trending in the wrong direction. It's on the road in Arizona. There's no Nuck Hopkins. You heard Jeff. When Jeff Schwartz was on, if you missed that earlier in the second hour of the show, you can podcast us wherever you get your podcasts, obviously, and drop us that 5-star review if you wouldn't mind, JMart and Ramon. But Jeff said, look, this is what Kingsbury teams do. This is what they did in college at Texas Tech, and it's what happens every year with Arizona. They're probably one and done in the playoffs no matter what. They'll start hot, he doesn't make adjustments, and then they get beat. Well, the Colts are red hot right now. The Cardinals have cooled down. So that probably means the Cardinals end up winning the game? No, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of how the NFL has been this year. But the Colts have put, because of their record and where they are, and the Titans winning that game last night, I think the division's done. I think the Titans are going to win out first of all, as did Jeff, by the way. But even if they win one, they win the division, and they do have the Texans in the final week of the season. So I think that's how important last night was. And now you do get extra rest because you played on Thursday. You got 10 days before you play again. You play against Miami, who has to go for broke in everything they've got left just to make the playoffs. And that might not even be enough. So this is exactly what you had to have. You couldn't lose both these games. That was going to put you in a tough spot potentially. You lost to Pittsburgh, a team that I think watching it you felt like you should have beaten. And then the Niners, with everybody thinking they were going to win. This is what Vrabel does. And this is why you find yourself at double-digit wins again. Russ in Franklin. Russ, what's going on?
Good morning, guys. Merry Christmas.
Same to you.
So, tale of two halves last night, right? I think it's really hard as a fan to watch this team. It's a bipolar experience, right? But I think with respect to Tannehill, and get y'all's opinion, can you imagine if both of you guys called into work this morning and couldn't make it in, and then whoever comes in to back you up, oh, by the way, they're hurt too or have COVID, they can't come in. So now the third person walks in and puts on the headset and goes, well, what do I do? Give them a week to try out and get ready and prepare. But still, it's unfair, I feel like, to truly try to assess Tannehill's ability to make a difference when he's looking down the line of scrimmage and he's looking at guys that, he hasn't maybe ever seen or certainly not seen on a regular basis. It affects his ability to check off and everything else. But I don't know. I feel like it's unfair to assess him in a way saying he's not the guy or he's doing a bad job with what everybody's been dealt right now. But what's y'all's opinion on it?
Sure. The thing about Tannehill, as we have discussed over and over for months, is we're not sure he can win without his complement of weapons. That's one true statement. But here's also a true statement. Almost nobody can.
Well, and here's the thing with Tannehill. Two things can be true at one time.
Yes.
Is that, yes, Tannehill's been missing these people, and you saw the difference he made last night having A.J. Brown back in the lineup.
Right.
And you'll see how much better that Tannehill's output is going to be with more players back in the lineup. That's true. However, it's also true that his ball security this season has been atrocious.
Yes.
14 interceptions, 6 fumbles, That's 20 turnovers. Yes, all those other parts in terms of the offensive line and missing your skill players, a huge contributor to that. But Tannehill would even tell you that he has not played up to his expected level of performance. So I think both things are true at the same time.
Yeah, ball security and holding on to it too long, which has always been what you've said and what we used to say about Mariota. We got to say it about Tannehill too.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of those sacks, or a couple of times that he got hit last night, he got hit because he didn't get the ball out of his hands. Greg Olsen was dead honest too. And he said it about Garoppolo because Garoppolo didn't understand the situation and walked into some bad spots. But Tannehill's got to be more aware. He knew he was out of time. When you know you're out of time in the NFL, the ball better not be in your hand. Or you're either going to get nailed or you're about to lose the football. One of those two things. We got one more segment to go after the break. Charlie, William, James, Jeremy, you are going to send us off on this reaction victory Christmas Eve Friday. Hang on during the break. How many different descriptors did we just have right there?
That was a lot.
We will be back. We are taking calls right up until the end of the show. If you're on hold, stay there. It's JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Little Home Alone flavor here with Chuck Berry. I like this one, too. You said this might be your favorite Christmas song. It's definitely one of mine, man.
Huge Chuck Berry fan, and I love this song, and I've heard so many great covers of it.
I like Tom Petty's, you don't hear it as often.
I've heard it a few times.
I like that one.
Yeah. And then Lemmy from Motorhead did a cover, which for me is just, it's great.
Springsteen's is pretty good.
Yes. Yeah.
Paul McCartney's? No.
Not so much.
That'll be a no from me, dog. Charlie and Franklin. Charlie, what's up?
Well, I'm on my way to feed some feral cats in Nashville. I've been doing for my daughter for about 25 years. But I turned the radio on and listened to you two, and I think you all have done one of the best jobs of analyzing our game last night of any time I've ever heard in my life. Now, that brings me back. I'm an old man, and it brings me back to a story that Bob Reinhardt told me sitting in coffee, year 1966 in West Virginia. And he said, Charlie, he says, after we got through playing a football game, we got rewarded by having how many beers would be sitting on our bench. And I said, does that mean everybody? And he said, yes, sir. And I said, here's my point. I think that whole group of players last night, every one of them, some of the hard hits that our linebackers get, I think every one of those players, not just the stars, but every one of those players deserve a couple of beers on their bench. I'm proud of all of them. So awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
Charlie, thank you so much. And thank you for the kind words and Merry Christmas.
Jason, this is as resilient of a football team as I've ever seen.
No question.
In my entire life.
That's why I'm about to tweet this out. Mikey said this when I asked him about Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor and the MVP. Anybody that is arguing John Harbaugh for Coach of the Year over Mike Vrabel because of how Harbaugh has handled injuries should be drug tested and have their vote revoked.
This is so ridiculous.
The record's not as good. They haven't been as impressive. And if you want to talk about injuries, that conversation has to start with a team that has now suited up 88 different guys this season.
The most of any team.
I mean, that's just – I know we're in Nashville, and sometimes you can get home cooking and all this kind of stuff. That's not home cooking. That's just flat-out objective. There is no way on earth Harbaugh should get a vote over Vrabel. I'm not saying Vrabel should win it. I still think it's Belichick's award. And then past that, you can look at a Matt LaFleur, and there's some other guys you can look at, no question. But Vrabel should be in the conversation. Harbaugh really shouldn't. We don't even be. I'd put Tomlin in over Harbaugh because I don't know how Tomlin has them potentially in the playoffs. I have no idea how that's possible watching their quarterback in their situation. The Harbaugh love. I think Harbaugh is really talented. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, he's a great coach. He's a Super Bowl winning coach.
But Vrabel has done a better job this year than John Harbaugh has. I mean, sorry. Not sorry. William in Fairview. William, what's up?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey.
I don't want to take anything away from last night. Last night was awesome. What a great team win. Such a resilient team we have. I love watching them. But I just want to see y'all we got to start looking, a few years down the road to take this team to the next level. I love how Tannehill has done such a phenomenal job in Nashville, bringing us out of the dark ages, from taking over Mariota's spot a few years ago. But you got to think, at some point we're going to have to start looking for a quarterback in these next few draft classes. And that's nothing taken away from Tannehill. I love the guy. He's a baller, and he's really resilient, and he's taking us to a new level. But you got to think, I just don't think he's going to be able to take us to championship level football. What do y'all think?
Well, he's already almost taken you to a championship. And if everybody's healthy, I think he can. Do I think he's a quarterback in 4 years here? No, I don't. But he's getting a little bit older. He's played for a little while now. Yeah, you do want to find somebody. You don't want to be in Steelers situation where you got Roethlisberger way too long and don't have his replacement in-house.
Well, and we also have to remember is that we look at Tannehill, we'll look at other quarterbacks across the league. Very few teams in this league have a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Right.
When you go back the last 20 years worth of Super Bowls, only 5 of those Super Bowls were won by a quarterback who's not a Hall of Famer. Yes, because you have Brady in there, you have Peyton in there, you have Aaron Rodgers in there, you have Patrick Mahomes, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, all in that. Very rarely, there's a difference between Hall of Fame quarterbacks and franchise quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill is a franchise quarterback. He is. Is he an elite Hall of Fame quarterback? No. But you know how many there are? You can count them on one hand.
Absolutely right. That's the thing. You don't have Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers, but you don't have Davis Mills, and you don't have Jimmy Garoppolo, in my opinion. And I think last night that proved that out. James in Lafayette. James, what's up?
Hey, Merry Christmas, y'all.
You too.
Hey, man, I just love this win. You know, ESPN, they all picked Kansas City and the whole nation. We was underdogs. I love being underdogs. But, you know, hats off to Mike Vrabel, man, the best coach we've ever had as a Titan. Hands down. I believe he's coach of the year, and look what he's done with all the injuries and everything he's done. You know, everybody wants to dissect all the wrong. You know, we need to start looking at all the positives these boys are playing right now. I mean, they're giving us winning seasons back-to-back. Went to the AFC championship. Man, hats off to Tannehill. You know, Derrick Henry coming back, man, we're going to be a hot team. I think we're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs when we get there because we got David Long going to be coming back too, and so we're going to be looking good. But if Mike's listening today, man, great job, Coach. Man, he's done awesome. He's brought winning ways to Nashville. Best coach we've ever had. And I'm going to see y'all later. Merry Christmas.
You too, James. We will go to Jeremy to finish this up. Jeremy, what's up?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you? Merry Christmas.
Doing well. Same to you.
Love the show. Start my day start every day with you guys. Got a parlay in a pear tree, so to speak, last night. A couple weeks ago, I took all the noon games and hit one. I usually try with like $25, you know. Took all the noon games. It was 7 picks. Pretty much took all of them on the spread except for like one money line. Hit it at like $2 grand. But yesterday I'm at work and I'm looking at the lines and everything. I think the money line at the time was like plus 135, whatever. But the way our defense has been playing, I'm thinking, man, we're playing lights out. There's no way we're going to, they're going to put up 44.5, you know. So I trimmed the line down to 37.5. I took the Titans to win on the money line. I took, I guess I'm pronouncing his name right. Ayuk to score anytime, Foreman to score anytime, and A.J. Brown to score anytime. Wow. And, man, A.J. was on fire last night. But anyway, so I trimmed that line down to 37.5. Well, you know, after Ayuk scores, I'm sitting there thinking, this is going to happen. And I'm looking at $5 grand.
Yeah.
And, man, I'm freaking out. And the next thing I know, they hit him over the middle. You know, I'm thinking he's been open all night. There he is. They hit him. I'm thinking, surely the guy, Braves loves bleeding that clock. He's going to bleed this clock down, you know. So time gets away. Bullet gets up there, through the uprights, got it with the hook, my friend. Got it with a hook.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, man, it was sweet. Bittersweet. That's just one of the most memorable Christmases ever, I tell you.
Beautiful,
But,
Jeremy.
anyway, I want to know what you guys think. Like the caller was saying earlier, you predicted as well, you know, Titans win the Super Bowl. We're a Derrick Henry away from going to a Super Bowl, in my opinion. But I'm concerned about that foot. I mean, you got pins and screws and everything else holding it together right now. I'm worried about, you know, the other gentleman was talking about our future. If he comes back and doesn't have some kind of modification to that cleat supporting that foot, I'm afraid he's going to mess it up again, and then we're you know, looking to, you know, something else next year. So I want to know you guys' thoughts on that. And once again, Merry Christmas to everybody. Enjoy yourself.
Same to you, Jeremy. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. We'll talk a lot about that next week on the program. That's not to tease you out of this thing. It's just we're out of time. We'll talk plenty about it, no question about it. Buck's coming up next. He will continue our review of what we saw last night, which was good times, good times, good times. Merry Christmas to you and yours from everybody at JMart and Ramon. For the big guy, we'll see him again on Monday. Hope everything goes well with his family this weekend. For Shafe, I'm JMart. You guys be good. Birthdays today, Devontae Adams and A.J. Johnson. How about that? A couple of sports birthdays, and tomorrow, pretty important birthday being celebrated. We'll see you on Monday. JMart and Ramon out.